knowledge values they have brought to the table.
Started.
Is great. I think this will define what can be done by the medical utilities, because the view of how can we make them better, how we can extract more value from whatever we are doing. Over the period, I think MR's role has changed deeply. And particularly even COVID period also made some changes where they were not able to meet physically. And going into the digitalized version of detailing or how to sell, that was the question that time. Because doctors were not able to meet anything. So I think today's discussion is basically to extract what you are doing, and we are trying to know what are your USP, what is the unique selling point through which you work. And that's what we would like to do it today. First, I think we should introduce each other. Let's start with myself. I'm H.G. Belapuri. I'm in pharma industry for the last 46 years. But mainly technical. Marketing is not mine. So I don't know, probably you have come here on the panel discussion what I was wondering what I'm doing there. But working in the industry itself is a great feeling. So 42 years mainly into technical, I worked with the companies like Sun Pharma, Zydus, and earlier I was with Stalwarts. Everywhere 10 years probably span of work. Last year I retired as the managing director of the Zydus Hospital. Zydus and Idles now. All oncology products.
Thank you. So I'm Arun, co-founder of Sharpsell, and I had a very different journey than most of you sitting here. I started off as an engineer, worked in a factory for a few years. Then I did my MBA from Ahmedabad. Then I worked with Philips across the globe. Then I'll keep it short. So yeah, and then I think we wanted to start something on our own. So we started Sharpsell with a few of my friends from IIT, and the idea was that how do you kind of help frontline sales folks sell better? And initially, I think, like I was saying, we did a lot of work with BFSI when we started off. And then we realized the problems that people on the front line face, that organizations running large distributed frontline sales teams face are not very different. And we now we're now working with primarily pharma, BFSI, and auto. So that's broadly what we do. So we have, I think, close to about 7 lakh plus users who use Sharpsell on a day-to-day basis across the field. And the idea of being, I think this is another question that people may have. I think what are you guys doing here? Why is it? So one of the ideas of having such roundtables and having people from diverse backgrounds, and I say diverse, while you can say, hey, we're all in pharma fraternity, but I think the kind of products, the kind of customers that you sell to, the kind of folks that you have in your team are very diverse. And for us, there are two objectives. One is to keep validating and revalidating some of the hypotheses that we started and we've built the product. Second is to really understand what is the reality in the market, from a decision maker's perspective. While we have a lot of time spent on the field, the question is also, how are those things that we hear on the field translating to what management really wants to do, what is the direction, and it's for us to understand and keep working on our product. So that's my objective here. And I think usually when we work with ET, they say, "Haan sir, aap bhi ek panelist ban jao," and I'm like, no, I have no locus standing there. So I think I just told sir that I'll sit with you and I'll get clarifications wherever I can. But otherwise, I'm more of a bystander in this end, trying to understand what's going on. So that's from my side. Thank you.
I've been in the industry, I'm also very short. I've been in the industry for about 30 years now. And I started my career as a medical rep and moved on to the product management team. I worked for medical rep as a full phone engineer, then moved on to product management team in Sun Pharma. Worked for about 5-6 years there. Moved to Ranbaxy as a marketing head, and then to Zydus. Zydus, for 12 years I worked with them as central manager, and moved up to the senior vice president post. Then in the last 3 years, with some people, pharmaceutical ventures like Mr. Velapuri sir, we have started this organization called ETHealthworld. So from an employee to an employer, being an entrepreneur, it's a long journey and a lot of learnings in the last 3 years. So probably in this forum, let me share whatever I could learn from the last 3 years.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, all of you, and thank you for the kind invite. The only person from Cyprus here who's still an employee, right? Spent 27 years in the pharma industry. That's a whole part of my career. In the past 20 years, I've been with this organization, Cyprus, and I lead the talent management and organizational learning and leadership development for this group. I also started as a medical rep, and then subsequently moved into the human capability building space, which is an area of my passion. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, myself, Mitesh, and at the outset, I would like to thank the team of ETHealthworld for this wonderful and interesting session. I started my career as a journalist because I completed my post-graduation in journalism. Then I did my post-graduation in HR. So 1 year I worked as a journalist. Then I moved to this industry in 1990. So completed 33 years. And for Fulford India Limited, one company I served for 27 years. So right from a medical representative to up to GM. Then followed by Gelderman at that company. And currently I have been working with Kepler Healthcare as a vice president. And since last 4 months. So based out of Ahmedabad. And just it's my proud to inform that Kepler, the fastest company, entered in 200 crore in 10 years with 43% of the growth. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mitesh. I'm Vinesh Thakkar. I'm the Associate Vice President for the Otsuka Pharmaceuticals. This is a Japanese multinational company. So I have also done my BPharm, and then I did my senior management program from Ahmedabad. So last 26 years I have worked with 4 companies, Johnson & Johnson, Novartis, Baxter, and now Otsuka. So I have worked with, this is my 4th organization in the last 26 years. Traveled across India. I have lived in North for 6.5 years. I have lived in South for 6.5 years. Now in West. Except for East, I have lived across the board. For the last 12 years, I'm handling a team of roughly around 275, 280 people. Out of which 80% of the people are on the ground. Of course, we don't tell them medical representative, the multinational terminology, but they have medical representatives. So they are designated as executives, key account managers, and so on and so forth. So I have experience of leading larger teams in Baxter also. I led a team of roughly around 270 people. And here also I have a large team. I cover both the sales and the marketing part, the learning and the development part, and the SFA also reports into me. So this is my small experience of 26 years plus. Yeah.
I'm basically a law graduate. I've done my master's in law and then started practicing as an advocate. And then I moved to HR. I've done my post-graduation in HR and then moved to HR. Around 25 years of experience in HR, IR. I worked in Piramal Healthcare, ETHealthworld Pharma. And my last assignment was with MRs Pharma. Only in MRs, I handled a small team of MR and MR people. All other, even now here, we don't have any MRs. I'm working with Kashi Biosciences. It's a part of Amil Group, biopharma division of Amil. And headquarters, all our plants are situated in US only. Here we have R&D center and new chemical entity centers. And now we are coming up with a used plant that is a single reactor biopharma at people near Sanand. I'm totally new to Ahmedabad, but I recently joined here. So most of the part I have spent in Hyderabad and Orissa.
So good evening everyone. At the outset I would like to thank the team to call me. And it humbles me that I'm sitting with all the stalwarts of the industry. Many of them have been my mentors in the industry. and I have around 18-19 years of experience. I have done my master's in biotechnology and later I did my PGCHR in product survival in human resources. So my first few years of experience is into research and development, and then I moved into core pharma. So in pharma, I have worked in medical marketing. I have worked into for more than 10 years. I have worked in training and development, and for past 5 years, I have been in HR. So that's my small stint of experience.
Thank you everyone, and really a great pleasure to see you all today. I think a very good evening to everyone and the Economic Times team and the Sharpsell. I'm Jyoti Bhatt, and currently I'm the Vice President Business Excellence for International Business. Earlier I was heading the branded business. So I've been working with the CEO office for driving a number of commercial excellence projects, trying to really build brands, trying to build in more of profitability. My journey has been very interesting in terms of lot of diversity in work, right from marketing to business development to part of HR, doing different projects across the layers. So I worked with the top Indian companies, be it Cipla, Ranbaxy, Firstwire, and the last assignment which I had was Dr. Reddy's, and I come to you from Abbott. Abbott was my last company before I joined Canada. So I worked with Novartis and Abbott for almost 15 years. So it's been quite a lovely amalgamation of multinational Indian companies and building strong brands across every single category. Right from the sizes of 25 crores to 300 crores.
I think you changed. I think we were together in Ranbaxy, Bombay office.
We call you
Yeah, I could
because
recall you now.
because that was actually the company where the pillars of foundation of
Yes, you were in training that time.
So it's been a very nice journey, and I think I built really big brands. So I think thank you very much for this opportunity.
Pleasure meeting you.
And
So
same here. Same here.
Hi, good evening everyone. I'm Viral Modi. I head Sanvita Romantis Training and Development. I started my journey in the year 1993 as a medical rep. I did simple BSc graduation, not finding. I mean, it was difficult to get a job at that time, so no other option. Got into field as a medical rep. Then went into as a product specialist with Johnson & Johnson. Then again into sales with J&J. Moved as a frontline manager with Sun Pharma and then subsequently with Abbott. From last 14 years, I'm with training and development with Sanvita Romantis. Before that, Abbott, and then now with Sanvita Romantis. So my sincere gratitude to ETHealthworld as well as Sharpsell for inviting and being part of this elite group. Thank you.
So we have been introduced to each other. I think next, what we will do, I think we should also set up the time. I'm going to leave at 7:30. I have to catch the time. But you can continue. It's not somebody else will take it. Zoom meeting also something that I missed the same thing. I don't stop the flow of the.
No, sure. So I think we had planned this for about like 1.5 hours. So maybe I think we draw 10 minutes. We'll just start at 7:40. We'll save it because we kind of lose that song.
No problem. Yeah, I think we can even extend, not an issue.
No, sure. So I think we, of course, I'm sure we're going to have discussions outside the forum, but I think as a forum, I think, sir, I think we request that.
I think you are all very experienced young members of the time. Everybody has got something to say. And I think you have got questions. Let me ask you the first question. I think we can start with you.
Yeah.
And then other people, those who want to add any value or anything more, that I think continue. So first question is related to in your experience, what tactics or initiatives were most successful in offering HCP advantage?
Right. So, to me, I look at this, it's the most fundamental question for, I would say it's the entire pharma industry rely on this. Right? How do we influence healthcare professionals and getting those prescriptions. That's ultimately, I mean, if we define this entire industry, it's one word is to generate prescriptions. That's what we all are there for, right? So, to me, I feel it's like if our frontline salespeople, if they are extremely confident, right? If they are confident in facing doctors, maybe it's 30 seconds or 3 minutes. If they present themselves confidently in front of HCPs, I think the job will be done. So, how can we build those confidence, or how can I would say, build that conviction in them? That's what is very, very important. So, any approach or any technique that adds those confidence, conviction to them, probably that is very, very important and looking forward. So, to me, or what we rather tell our guys is, are they aware about things? Aware in terms of market, aware in terms of the customer need, and most importantly, do they aware about the product they are selling? Knowledge, in depth. Okay, in depth knowledge of the product is very, very important. Like, see, today the scenario has changed. I also hear many times from our sales leaders, what's the need? Like, doctor don't listen to what all we have to say, or maybe doctor knows everything. That's a big myth. Then why we should train our guys, right? So, to me, it's like, if they know, it's not for doctors. It's for them to be extremely confident in facing doctors. If they know product in and out, they will be confidently present in front of healthcare professionals, and they will be able to sell better. So that awareness, and I think today's the scenario has completely changed. When I attended my training, it was 25 days, 27 days of training, and since we were launching a new division, it was only 6 brands. Today, it's completely reverse. 25 products in 6 days. So that type of scenario, it's very difficult. So first is making them aware. Second is like, what differentiating factor we provide them. How do they differentiate themselves inside the gender? That need creation. Why a doctor will prescribe for me? So that need creation is that I would definitely say one important thing. And probably, I mean, it's one of the most important thing is communication. How do they communicate to the point, precise, as per which fulfills the need of healthcare professionals. And of course, the certain traits, as discipline, dedication, commitment level. Okay. So I define it as ABCD of the utmost. Okay. Absolute basics, and that basics still remains the same. Remain aware, be a differentiator in the market or inside HCPs chamber. Communicate to the point, very precise, and have the dedication. So to me, it's like that. This absolute basics, which will create the differentiation and approach which will make them successful.
So if what is your experience that over a period of time has happened that you look at a successful thing? I'm sure that so much of years of experience that all of us have. Everybody will understand that the most important thing is the communication, which is already said. And how do we really take attention of that doctor? Most important thing in MR, for years it's been following. So MR, even today it is working. MR is only personalized communication. Wherein you need to first, as an MR, to understand the communication that you're going to do to a doctor. And Anil and Rachna will tell you more about it. That's a pre and a post call analysis. What do we going to talk to the doctor? And it cannot have the same set of questions, same set of answers. It should be something like, I'm going to go to a doctor, and it should be personalized. A meeting, what kind of doctor, which product I'm going to take. And that still works eventually. And that is more important. The communication, how we make your MR much stronger in your communication. Over a period of time, it has changed. And what we have gone through is, Mitesh also will be adding to what I'm saying. First we invested on personal communication. Then personal communication moved on to an interactive communication where we moved on to telling the doctors inside the clinic about how a product works. So we had some tools that we had from the laptops in 2000s, 2005s, and now to the iPads and all those stuff, where we're talking about interactive communication, how a product works and all this. And now today you move towards it is how disciplined is MR, as he rightly said, how disciplined is MR. These are the three things which is really important. And for years, I used to tell in all the meetings, not today, for many years, if you look at the introduction of people, most of the people are proudly saying we started our career with MR. I started, I did followed Nilesh and ended up to with Mr. Modi. So we still feel proud about what MR is all about because the whole industry has changed. The way you do a banking has changed. The way you buy your clothes has changed. The way you put a petrol bunk has changed. How you pay to a vegetable guy has changed. But the only thing that has not changed is we need still an MR inside the head. And when I was working for Sun Pharma, the first thing he has also worked. The first thing we used to say in 2000 is, tell me something without an MR, how can we manage the vacant territory? And we used to give managers adopted territories, and we did in many companies where work. It never worked. And in the last 2-3 years, when we started our company, and we have to put about 350 MRs in one go, because without MRs, the industry cannot survive. So MR needs a personalized communication and interactive tools so that he goes inside the clinic and understand what the doctor wants and talks what he needs. Then it becomes, this has been my experience of success on building brands. As he rightly said, 200 crores company and things like that. So these are the three things that have really worked for any MR across the industry.
So I'll add one more point. Excellent relations are given and country. One thing which we did at our company, of course, it was a retrospective analysis, and both of them actually, when they were talking, I could relate. The 4 things which came in our attrition, we had about 120 people. Retrospective analysis we did. Of course, this was not done by agency or anything. This was our own HR who did a lot of things. Knowledge, communication, incentives, and the first line manager. The 4 things which came out very, very clearly from this attrition people. The retrospective I'm talking of. And those were really strikers that the people who had less knowledge, like the MRs who were not, of course, they left the company, and this analysis we had done that. But they found that the knowledge scores, because they had contacted the L&D team, okay, what was the score in the past of these people? Communication, of course, there was certain qualitative things which were put. Incentives are all given from, so, and this 4 things came out very clearly. Even after, because now most of us, all the 8 people who are sitting in this, the common problem is the attrition for this MR. We are facing the toughest time from the attrition perspective. And the attrition is close to more than 23-24%. And whatever they have said, actually, those outcomes are coming to us in form of knowledge in terms of communication. People who are not able to communicate properly actually leave. And of course, they join from Otsuka to say some other company or to some other company too. And the problem for them remains the same across the board. Whether they join any company, of course, some companies intervene a little bit more deftly and they have their skills upgraded in terms of their communication. But many of the companies, I would say, they do not invest in those people. And of course, it is upon the tenure also. If you are a little senior, 3-4 years, still the HR will put a little more effort. So I think those things, actually, whatever you said, came out in the survey also very clearly for our perspective.
To add to what Nilesh just said, in my experience, and I'll be very brief about it, it was all about adding value. It was all about bringing innovation. And third thing was very important is actually a 360-degree interaction between the KOL and the representative. So what we did was series of meetings in specialty, where we had the KOLs coming and talking to our representatives really the kind of challenges they are facing, what is that they would like to hear, be it their mode of action, be it the contraindications, be it the clinical efficacy. So it's a very sharp communication where we train the reps. So this is what we did actually in specialty communication, where we made sure that be it derma, be it cardio, be it orthopedics, we had the top of the line guys coming and talking to them. So that was one thing which really enabled them to really have a very good in-clinic value addition and at the same time impact.
So what I felt that if you take any industry, and Mr. Arun is there, so multifaceted, I think for automobiles and all this thing, but what fundamentally what we learned before 20 or 25 years, even today, I think you are from L&D, learning and development. If CCI, that means customer-centric interaction, simple 7 steps. You start with your preparation, your attire as well as your grooming. Second, you start the opening, how you open the car, whether it is professional or personal cars. So second is opening. Third comes to how you present yourself. Fourth is how to ask open-ended question, exploring. Then responding, objection handling, closing, and post-qualified analysis. Believe me, if training team not only just sake of giving the training initially, but if they do sessions so consistently, suppose 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, 1 year if they do it, what you said, attrition rate, because if we understand that nowadays, MR will not choose this industry by the choice. We should accept the fact. Multiple options are available. They are choosing this industry because of some circumstances. But we should understand that's what analysis. If we do not have sympathy or empathy, because initially training, that means they will be asked, now what is the sales? So if first line manager will start to ask the question, how much and how many, big transformation should there from how many to how. And majority of the people will understand that person has joined industry and 20 days of the program will not sufficient for him to understand the brand, mode of action, job profile. So if performance is not there for 2 months, 3 months, forget it. The attitude is there, is asked, attitude, skill and knowledge, we should give him full support. And we have found that person who has not been treated well with the first line manager, second, he will leave the company with non-performance tag. Same person would join some other company. If first line manager, second line is good, that person is superpower. So I firmly believe industry for organization, they should give more and more emphasis on the first line manager, how they treat. Because nowadays, empathy part is now people are forgetting. They always ask how much, how many. And majority of the industry are facing problem. I am not talking only pharma industry. It is a Reliance. Why Tata people don't leave the company? Tata is still the organization which they understand the people. They understand the person, emotional connect. They will send their increment letter on the name of their parents. Because of your support, your person has developed, or spouse. Such type of people will not usually leave the company like this. And money is the second part nowadays, because if I am getting good job satisfaction, if I am having very good quality of life, if I am getting good respect, I don't think for few thousand rupees I should leave that. So this CCI, I firmly believe if we just implement CCI 7 steps of selling skill, you will get both the way. You will get good sales, employee would be happy, and as a mutual understanding, your industry will grow, your company will grow in a very nice way.
Just to add to what he said, now the industry has changed drastically in past 3 years, and now MRs are getting very less time. So there was a time that you have less representatives, less pharma companies, but now you have so many pharma companies coming up every month. So they have such less time. So preparation is the must, and lesser the time, more preparation is required. So understanding what everyone said, that understanding your customer, understanding your product, understanding your market, they have to spend quality time on that. And they should have profile of every doctor, what he is writing, which brands he prefers, why he prefers these brands, and why he is writing for some companies, which companies are doing better, what is their say. and what activities they are doing. I think these are the things which practically he should know. He should be aware of the market. He should be aware of the doctor's prescribing habits. And I think more time he spends outside, preparing for all these things, he'll be more confident in presenting himself to the doctor.
Either the responses is not this because it's all interrelated choices. Well, let me add to the context what Dilapure Prasad made a mention about. And talk about changes, right? A few of you also spoke about. All of us who have spent a considerable amount of time in the industry, the question is, has things really changed? Now, and if they have, what are the changes which have mattered? Probably, or 27 years back when I started my career, a few of you quite senior to me would have started the career 30, 35 years back, and we all worked as reps, some of us. Between that day and today, have things really changed? And when we talk about change, which are the changes that matter? Now, there are two types of change, right? If I list down 100 things which I would have been doing when I was a rep, and if I go to the field today and work with a rep today, I don't think so. More than 10 things would have really changed. Almost 90 things would have remained the same. There isn't any change. And out of the 10 things also, which we claim to have changed, there are two kinds of changes, right? There are incremental changes, there are transformational changes. Out of these 10 things which we claim to have been changed, I don't see anything which is a transformational change at all. So virtually, they are all incremental small changes, and hence the work profile of a rep 30 years back, or what I was trained 30 years back by somebody who had been 30 years back then, 60 years back, or somebody who was trained by 30 years back then, 90 years back, and today, 2024, things have not changed. So then what are we talking about in terms of change? Probably I also still recollect some of the challenges, Rachna, which you quoted. I had to struggle to get to the doctor's cabin, and if I got into practice, I could not get more than 30 seconds of my time. I go to the interiors and work with a doctor, and you have 20 more reps standing there and getting a call. So all those selling stages and processes, what the reps we taught in the class and we taught, they all it gets fizzled out when you go to the field and really see that these are the challenges. So the challenges still exist, the work profile has not changed. So hence, there isn't any standard technique or a tactic, as you asked, sir, which has got business in pharma sales. I still recall, and I think so, each of the reputed company has got a special list of doctors, what we call as core or super core, right? They're supposed to meet multiple times in a month because they're key opinion leaders, as you said. I don't think I got any structured appointment with any key opinion leader in my life when I was a rep. I probably used to meet them in the lift, catch them in the golf course, go to their house, take a ride in their car as a lift, and these are the special ways that I got, and there was no tactic which was structured or standard tactics. The same way what I get to do with my wife who doesn't listen after 23 years of marriage. But still, we have a great rapport. The point is which tactic works, I don't know. So every day there's a new tactic which you need to try and see that the rapport continues, right? And that's what exactly happens in sales. There isn't a standard tactic which is going to work. Reps, you might say confident, you might say that they need to be smart, they need to be good at public speaking, they need to be great at communications, all put together. It's all about, do we have the right people with the right mindset to go and get it done the way that they can? So, Ravi, that's something that we need to be also cognizant about, and rather than describing a specific tactic in place.
So, can I just please play a devil's advocate? And I'm just going to try, because so we spoke about, for example, what a rep needs to carry on, but just to play devil's advocate, So if I look at in the life of an MR, let's say there are 4 key things, aspects I'll say. One is the MR themselves, what they bring in, what is happening to doctors, what is happening to patients, and what's happening with the company you work for. So, you revolve around this 3 universe of doctor, patient, and company. So today, if you come from the other end of the chain, patients, the way they look at it, everybody's self-diagnosing, people have Google, ChatGPT, which means doctors now have to be more informed. Now companies today, again, this is what I hear from the market, so you take that with a pinch of salt, is पहले तो we were looking at educating people. Now everything is a number. And similar to what Nitesh is saying, when we ask managers say कि boss, if I know that this guy is not going to work, why will I spend time? And managers also start spending time with people who are giving them productivity. While in reality, the inverse should be true, that you spend time with people who need help, etc. So when we look at it, a lot has changed. So and again, I'm throwing it open. So when you say incremental changes, do we all agree with those incremental changes, or do we see wholesale changes in 20 years?
Firstly, what he's saying is the basics have not changed.
I'm saying basics of selling. So I'm saying in this changing environment where each stakeholders and expectations have changed, will the same things work?
So if I go retrospectively, sorry to cut you short, so if you look at retrospectively, some of the things what has been emphasized today, and which probably is assumed to be something which will add a lot of value to the work what Firma does. Most of us successful reps of the past who have grown today have done that, and that's the reason we are here what we are. We have done enough amount of patient education ourselves. I used to promote insulins, and I still recall doing a lot of patient education programs at a time that no reps were doing it. Now today you realize that probably patients are more educated, and hence that is a need of the hour, and it's something what has been compelling people to go and do it. So if you ask me, those kind of opportunities existed then too, but probably not much practiced. The basic hygiene has not changed of the work. It has still remained the same. You would see more people going and doing patient-centric activities, probably going and demonstrating and being more patient-centric, dealing with the doctors with reference papers. At some point of time when we were reps, the name of Serbia used to pop up more common and say that they are the people who introduce the reference paper discussions. The majority of the people are practicing it. So likewise, but end to end, if you look at the basic hygiene of the work hasn't changed. The reps continue to do the same thing. They go out of the house, they have a fixed call list in their place. They need to visit a certain set of doctors. They need to go to the retail shop, do some personal order booking, go to a stockist and collect the orders at the end of the month or in between. And if you go to places like UP, you will get 3 stock and sales statements, and you need to do a physical quantity of stock. This is entire thing which still exists as it is. Now, amidst that thing, probably the changes, in case if I can still say incremental what has added value is, probably many of the companies have started thinking alike. And hence, your bit of pie of share has reduced. The margins have decreased. Plus, sir, has been in the operations and manufacturing. So you would say the kind of the forecasting has completely gone for a toss because you can't predict. And there are certain challenges under these circumstances where you have more educated doctors in place, young generations of people who have had a stethoscope now. The kind of tech geeks these people are, unlike yesteryears when you would go and demonstrate something as a mobile also to a doctor, today that's not needed. So the education has increased, so you need to be equally competent enough to go and talk, and that's the reason it's a communication or confidence, something that's valid. But that's not something which has not happened. That was something how the smart reps used to be at some point of time, but you want more smart reps today. And the number of companies have increased in India.
The thing that I thought that change is not happening, so Hitesh continued the change. The first question that was posed to us was, in your experience, right, what has led to this success, and which are the 3 factors that you feel that this is going to be? That's the first question that was posed to him. So, which I said, yes, the 3 things that is more important for any medical representative across industry from restaurant years and now is, one is your personalized communication, which others also have said. You need to know what you're going to talk to the doctor before you enter a call. And that has not changed as usually transformed. It has never changed, it's going to not change. Because in the pharma setting, it is going to be an interactive, one-to-one. If you don't have that one-to-one interaction, you're not going to bring in anything for that particular territory which we have experienced over here. Now, when we get into the personalized communication, yes, then we know the doctor needs what Jyoti has said or Ratna has said. She said particularly dermatologists what they need or consultants what they need, we need to know. So when we go, then the change, the slow changes happen. Probably we're taking a piece of paper and telling a doctor this is what you do and the product is all about. But now then we went to an interactive. That means we said, okay, we will talk less, but the interaction will talk and tell mode of action of a product and this and that. But the basic thing which Anand is saying is it's not changed. The MR has to go and take it through. The third one, what you say, open communication. And I think we're jumping the question because the two questions comes back to saying what is the trust and the credibility. I think there's one more question out there. So again when open communication, because whenever the MR goes, my MR goes, the doctor will always think it's a selfish interest of pushing to bring in say which he has already addressed. But how do we say to an MR, tell him I'm coming here for the benefit of your patients? And that is what Anil's and Rachna's were doing the company for a longer period of time. Though you have an interest of telling the doctor to prescribe a brand, but you don't say it directly, but say it the other way. My company is coming here to help your practice grow, and my products is going to solve the solution that you are looking for in a patient. So these three: open communication, personal communication, and the interactive. Earlier it was interacting orally. Today the interaction has gone through media and something like that. But without an MR, which I think Sir opened up, the COVID times, without an MR, many companies couldn't reach the doctor. We were trying it out at various levels of communication from head office, this, that, nothing really worked. The same really converted down. Then the next year, I think it was a growth of over 25%. So then we realized without an MR, nothing can be done. And MR need to have these three, and that has not changed for over a period of time. That is what I would conclude.
I would say that substantial change has taken place as far as MR and customer is concerned. That is the gap of deserving and desiring. Previously, merits was good. They were interacting with the doctors, adult to adult, with good science stuff. So he was deserving to have a good desired result. Now what's happening that customers, we can see a drastic change in the approach of the customers. We all would agree. Previously, only science-based communication, very few companies. So both the sides are enjoying the industry. Yes, something is
So
good.
just a class, when you say customers, you're talking about HCPs, not the patients.
HCPs. Yeah.
Maybe here we don't talk about direct customers.
No. Just
We're going to talk of customers who is going to influence
No, sure.
buying our product.
Okay. So nowadays, the biggest change I would say that if I am having the equal competence, but if customer approach is different, if I am a master in science and communication, but need of the customer is different, then I need to have some alignment in that way as per the organization's need. Because I need to see both the customer's point of view, organization's point of view. So this gap is creating, I should say, issues because of this. Sometimes, if you do not want this, MR doesn't want to change on a previous company, so he has to quickly unlearn, he has to quickly learn, and he has to quickly relearn. This transformation is taking place, then MR as per se, he would be a good successful representative. If you say other side, because our entire industry, you write about prescriptions. Now, person who is giving the prescriptions, if you see, and you also would agree, previously, work-life balance was not their priority. Persons, doctors were practicing for 20 years, 25, 30 years. Now, we can see within just 4 or 5 years of practice, they would shut the clinic for Saturday. They would enjoy that. Now, those materialistic transformation, we can understand down the line, the expectations would be in a different tangent. Previously, this journal, oh my God, you have given me, have you wrote book of dermatology, that means it's the Bible or Harrison's. Nowadays, that has come, okay, is available in online. What is next? Customers, I will not say that, they are just asking the representative, yeah, I want to go for tracking. What is, according to you, which is the best place? So if MR is having knowledge of such type of exotic locations, such type of meditations, then they would get a good emotional connect with the doctor. Product comes, but along with that product, that particular other factors would come first, then followed by the interaction of emotional connect. So these are the big change we all found.
So one more point I'd like to add. Of course, Will just mentioned that the basics have not changed. but I would say a lot of work is being done by various companies in terms of digitally, I would say. Our company also did a lot of work during the COVID era, I would say, from the digital perspective. Like there were some apps which were created, Go Smart app, and other things which we tried to reach to the customers at that. Of course, that was a necessity at that moment of time because practically, but I would say from that era, I would say we have not significantly, we understood some of the points very, very clearly that previously our plans were that you increase your workforce by about 15-20%, 10-15%, but that number had slowed down. So I would tell you that practical experience, of course, it is related more to the case-to-case basis, but I would say that digital era has actually, that is one of the significant changes which we can see as a, and I would say many of the customers also are liking it, frankly speaking, because if you see from the webinar perspective, the CME perspectives, of course it cannot replace a MR, but I think those are the things which have taken some of the ground, I would say, moving forward. It has given actually the marketeers also a sense that this is also a way it can be done. So I think, of course, digital cannot, the MR's role will not be, I would say, reducted or anything replaced. But I would say a lot of work needs to be done at the digital era. We need to upgrade these people from the digital. Of course, iPads are very common for any company now, so it's not about any tablets or iPads, whatever you say. Those are there. So I think the better usage of those technology, I would say, when I joined Johnson & Johnson in 1998, I remember till 2011-12, I think almost 14 years, I was at the manager level, we did not have an iPad. I'm talking about 2012 only, I was introduced the first time, I was a senior manager at that moment of time. So in this last 10 or 12 years, if you see from 15 or 16, you see any company, any small company, you will have at least the tablet or the iPad, minimum. So I think a lot of work has been done in that digital era, which I would say the industry needs to capitalize. So that also is a question because say like there's a big giants who are sitting beside us and they have like workforce of 4,000, 5,000 MRs. That way, of course, we have a small company of say 250, 300 people on the ground. But they will also have to think digitally that how this cannot go on like this. See, because India, if you today your economy is at a certain say 4 billion, you will become 10 or 12 billion. And the pharma industry also is growing to that 3 size. You will not have 12,000 MRs on the ground, frankly speaking. It will not happen. The size of the companies will increase by 3 times. The size of the MRs will not increase by 3 times. That is for sure. So this is also
the
very
reason
important.
for this what is happening today. That there are many challenges by MRs. You are probably even discussing, you already come up with this. So what should be done to our this now? Improve this process. That's one of the questions I have.
Challenges
How to get the trust to
I state Prashant's response because I think he's been quite honest.
okay.
We will start with Prashant.
And his name is very important.
recent
Yeah,
future you're looking for is
I can say something about my experience in HR and HR. So I've seen a lot of MRs, they abscond informal attrition. So they abscond without explaining what is the commitment they have to their doctors and all these things. So which was a big challenge for us. And getting right people on board, the right people, and frequent trainings. So we engage a lot of external trainers to train our MRs very frequently. So every once, twice in a month we used to train them. But still, this informal attrition is a big challenge for us. And we don't know what they are committed to the distributors, what they are committed to the super stockists, and all of a sudden some surprises come. These are some challenges I face.
I mean, what all of you shared regarding things have not changed, basic structure, steps, everything remains same. In spite of that, what facing the challenge which we are facing in terms of attrition. If we look it into the MR's life cycle, the biggest thing happened. One, as an industry, we somehow not able to attract the right talent. People, for them, it's earlier also it was by compulsion, but now people have many other choices. So even in those not like earlier days, pharmacy graduate, science graduate used to be there. Now it's BA, BCom, even diploma are also there, right? So at one level, their competency somewhere like at the entry point. Second, from imparting the right development, how much we are investing. There are two type of companies: companies who consider training as investment. There are companies who consider trainings as cost, right? So, what type of development we are giving? Secondly, probably what you mentioned. Are we providing the right kind of psychological safety to our MR? Look at this. There, when he's waiting at one doctor's chamber, probably he's thinking, will I be able to miss the next call? Right? He's continuously remain under pressure. He has number pressure, what you rightly mentioned, right? He has to get the prescription, he has to complete the brand metrics in the call, he has to complete the number of calls, right? At the same time, he also faced a lot of rejection during the day. Right? With all this type of clutter mindsets and thought process when he enters in the doctor chamber, how do we expect that he will be remain absolute focus and get the desired result? And probably that first, the line managers, do they tell them, don't worry, I'm there with you? As you said, Keith, how many and how much? Do they any of the line manager tell them, coach them how?
So here maybe I'll just flip this around and maybe I'm going to Jyoti and Rachna respond to this. Is while on one side we're talking about what the organization, what the backup you should provide these advance. The real confidence comes when you go and know that somebody is hearing you out and you're getting a good reaction in the market. Your reaction could be somebody just looking up to you and saying, hello Arun, I think we met some time ago, and that's like that makes the day for a lot of people. So question is, what should be done to get the trust? Because the initial one is just support. You can kind of give these barracks initially, but over a period of time, what has to be done, to kind of build that trust in that chamber?
I think one thing which I feel is non-negotiable is knowledge. I think somewhere down the line, two things which we are not doing right is the mindset of my rep. Because today, it's a sad truth, but we need to work at this team or wherever we are. I think we need to work on really upbringing his morale. Somewhere down the line, his mindset, today the kind of respect that he gets, it's totally massacred day in and day out. And it's not at one place, it's across the board. So what is that we do as a team to really improve his mindset in terms of really that confidence, in terms of trying to leave a mark or to create an impact in a call? So that's one thing. Second area, as I said, knowledge. And I think, when you look at a life cycle, in fact, I'll go a little bit deeper. What really happens is we look at one spectrum, but I think it's very important the 360 degree of my medical rep, 360 degree of my doctor. And as we all will be witnessing the Gen Z coming in. So therefore, again, what are the kind of things that we need to bring in? And it's only that when we understand these mapping well, we'll be able to make a better representative who makes a better call. So that would be my submission.
See, nowadays evaluation is taking place. Suppose I am a representative. My evaluation would be taking place. What is the number? Previously, when we started our career, meeting will start with your quiz, test paper, and it would be appreciated. Yes, this person stood first in the training. Give a big clap. Now, I don't think that is the first priority. Of course, many companies are still having such type of sessions. If you see, if I am MR continuously after 4 meetings, 5 meetings, 6 meetings, only numbers, so what I would think top of the mind, first let me complete my number. And that particular thought process top of the mind would impact very negatively of this shadow. So, of course, it's a is right in his own way. But somebody has to take some, and many companies still, they are giving first priority for the knowledge, training and attitude. I have seen, yes, if you, okay, fine, 2 months, 3 months down the line, sale has to come, but first to develop yours. We provide you, company, they are giving, suppose MR is first or second in sales and everything, they would provide IIM training on the workmanship course for 1 year free of charge, 6 lakh, 7 lakh course. If I have been awarded such that I will never leave this company. I understand, yeah, this company values my efforts, knowledge, so I would do more and more and more for this company. So it's a win-win situation after 5 years. So what I mean to say that approach has to be changed top to bottom, not so in between also, because genes of the company, we cannot change the genes of the company. So we have to have somewhere strategically as a pilot. These two states will have this particular thing, let us say. So it's a long term, because nowadays short term gain is the first and entire world is harping on that. So if you just have that priority the first, so self-respect, everything would come followed.
Challenges faced by the MRs, small company and big company, you find any difference? So both of you have worked in both of
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a lot actually. First of all, in terms of when I'm going to the doctor's chamber itself, the whole image. Meaning, if I'm coming from a small company, my credibility itself is a question. Being my product credibility, both.
The card plays a very, very important role.
small
Your card
companies face major more problem.
Even there are today HCPs who don't welcome new companies. This is the new companies, no, we don't meet. Then you do various other things, try to different, approach or reach in a various different ways. After multiple efforts, you get an entry. So that's definitely there. One, the banner which works, yes. Second is even as I said earlier, attracting talent. People will also say, yeah, this is a big banner. So here, at times you are forced to compromise with certain competencies. Okay, let's start. Okay, and then you build on it.
That's the difference probably.
And the kind of life cycle these guys enjoy, when you see Zyduses of the world or maybe Simplas and the Dr. Reddy's, it's like, you have a representative for 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. And most of the organization, it's like a 2-year stint. So it's like a total flip. The guy goes, whatever equity you created, it's already gone. So that's another thing where, where the life cycle of the rep and how the organization is investing on that really matters.
For them also it is changing.
Yeah, but if you still see, when a Zydus rep goes versus a smaller company, I would not like to mince words. It's difficult for my guy, very difficult, to create his space. Not so easy.
Yeah.
Maybe you would take 6 calls or maybe 8 calls to create that kind of impact. So that much time, money, energy, impact, I'm losing.
And after 6 months or 1 year of experience, these people, they want to change because they get better incentives, they get better other benefits with larger companies. So they don't want to stay with
See, if you really look at the trust or if you're talking about trust in China, the space by MR, it is multifold. Trust is the trust, the challenge is that space by MR is a time that he has to get inside of it. In spite of all the priorities the doctor has. The second one is the message that is going to tell to the doctor. The message is any sales guy go to any houses that matter. We also suspected whether it's pushy enough. And how he doesn't show that I'm not pushy enough, I'm going to do this. That's the challenge. The company that faces, which Nitesh was trying to tell you was, the kind of people that we were recruited, when I run it on people who work in, were recruited, the communication part of the guy was strong. That is why we were recruited. Basic communication was strong because we have, as a sales, the medical representative job was fever. And you have a test, you have a group discussion, then you have a personal interview, then we get into a multinational company. And I and Nitesh got into that levels. So the communication was basic, was there in an MR. Today, the mushrooming of the companies, and the opportunities available for a good, talented, communicated guy outside the sales force, if I compare to 90s and 2000, where you got softwares and all those things are coming, you don't get the good communicated guy naturally. A guy who studied in CBSE or ICSE was very good in English, very good in science. You don't get a B forms and all those stuff. Those days we were B forms and we got to do it. That is one of the paths we choose to go into the marketing career. We had an aspiration to fulfill. We worked for 2 years, 3 years, we moved away. But today the available resource, the talent pool is not so much. We looked at MR as a career. Today we just discussed, few hours before, like they come as Mitesh just said, okay, I don't have a choice now, I'm planning to. So when you have a choice, I used to say, I just told somebody, how do the companies pick up MRs? And we say, if somebody is saying his name is Dravid, and we say, you are my Rahul Dravid, come and play for me.
Yeah.
And somebody says, South Indian, Sanghli is my name, we say, you are my Sarvo Gandhi. I will train you, somehow, you come and play for me. And your name is Mistri, you are my Ravi Shastri, come and go. So that is why we pick up MRs and do it. And we say we have a huge kind of training centers and we can change them and this. It doesn't happen overnight. It's 21 days or 15 days. It's not enough. So that is why in our community as an MR, the area manager has become a training guide every 3 days or 4 days or 5 days even. And every month meeting we have a training guide. But how much we can train them? That's one question that we have. Probably a good tool can really look at. And the time that is available to an MR was, as he said, 30 seconds earlier, 30 seconds. What do you do in the 30 seconds? What Anil did in a golf course. I don't know how many times you have to golf a course, but how many he played? So how many times he went to a golf course? Today also when I was in the field today in the morning, and they said, sir, CEO's club, we have to meet. The doctor came outside. He said, we'll go inside. I said, no, because I don't want to, he's going out. I said, I'll meet you there itself. We have to meet there. And what we do in the 30 seconds, either inside the clinic or outside the clinic, and how much is he effective? That's the biggest challenge the manager is facing with the MR. The MR also doesn't know what to do. The company also doesn't know, because we get the Sanghlis and Dravids and we wanted them to play long innings. And when you don't have that, then the sale, when that interaction is not happening, that levels, and what happens? You don't get a prescription, the prescription doesn't get it to translate to sale. And there's a pressure coming out of the MRs leave from one company to the other company, and the MR goes from one problem to other. So, day before yesterday in our meeting, I was talking. Mr. Belapuri Saab, he said, I work for 3 companies. And Anil said 5 companies. And Jyoti and I would have worked for 5 companies. Today, you look at 2015, they work for 10 companies. So much opportunities that you have. And you can't catch hold of them, and you have to work for them. Whatever you give them, if I don't have an atmosphere where I'm not able to really work, and move away, and then you don't know what the MR did, as he said, and full and final settlements, and all those things, and extra stock is said, all those things come arises. So yesterday when I was talking to HR, I said, don't remove anyone. Because full and final settlement is so much. How do we do that? We need to have money for the full and final here. I said, stop, no division and remove MR. Because full and final settlement gets accumulated, and how do you do it? And you need money to keep that. So, this is the available resources that we have at the moment. You can't bring in Shrikant and Anil and Mitesh to work as an MR. And what do we do with the available resources? There we lag. We need some kind of a tool wherein that can make him enthusiastic, and you have to understand 2.5 years is what my boss will work. In the 2.5 years, 24 calls into 30 seconds or 1 minute, what I'm going to do with that time. Okay? I know personal communication is important, open communication is important. How do I train these kind of people is more important to us. That's the biggest challenge everybody faces. If you have other views.
Yeah. So I'd like to add a disclaimer to what I said first. The golf courses are not always good. Yeah. There have been instances wherein I was thrown out of the golf course as well. Just because I was not so sensitive to the time at what I reached in, because the doctor was losing, and then there was no choice for me to move out and then never look back again. Right? So there have been instances where the things don't work, and hence I am repeating the same statement, the same tactics might not work for all. The few things that we need to look at. See, we're talking about the capability building of reps, right? All it zeroes down to whether in about 3 minutes or 3 seconds, are we able to do the maximum? Organizations, unfortunately, probably are looking at only the obvious and probably not thinking outside the box, right? And what is obvious? Obvious is the rep has to meet the doctor, promote the product, do the references, pass on some gifts or samples, probably ask for the prescription, go to retailer, that's all. That's what the individuals are being trained as well. And that's the reason your 25 days of training has come back to 3 days, because what the organizations think is that's the most at what we need to train on. And hence, what is visible to us is only the obvious. And hence, organizations have completely misunderstood what is required for a rep today is more of social skills. There isn't any investment on the same. So, do we need to look into the entire curriculum of what is it that the guy needs to be trained, or do we really need to have classroom training to teach product knowledge, or else solve his doubts because everything is available on the net? The patient comes with questions on diabetes. Gone are the days when the patients would ask questions like, would I survive or would I stay with this? The questions are more specific to the dosage, medication, side effects, and all those things. Where does this knowledge come to a patient, right, who has not even studied science?
That's the advantage of Google.
That's the advantage of Google or a disadvantage of Google, either which way. But today we are looking only into the obvious of what needs to be told. A rep does not necessarily need only product knowledge. Today we are probably all surviving in an ecosystem where social skills are not being touched upon. And that's what you talked about is empathy or well-being. Certain courses, what we as executives in the management go through, I think so the reps at that level also need to be introduced to emotional intelligence or empathy or EQ. And these are few things that help. Now, and the another obvious thing is, even if we attempt this for the reps or for the field people, we are still targeting only a set of community in our organizations. If you want to make the life of your reps easy, make it easier from them from the other side as well, can we do something for the medical practitioners? Tell me how many doctors have been invested upon for their sales development? Which are the doctors who are also humans who probably refuse to meet a rep and they do not have sensitivity or emotional intelligence? Can the organization step beyond their goal of their structure or finite area where they have an impact, go outside, probably reach out with some curriculum to the doctors as well? Today, some of the organizations started investing in the soft skill development of doctors. It's always mutual, right? So that means if you feel that the reps are not being able to meet a doctor and do anything visibly impacting in 3 minutes, it's probably the reason the person has not been given due importance. While on one side you might work on the reps and make him an extraordinary person, but if the other person is not mature enough to handle him, it's not going to work. So the organizations will have to think beyond the visible, go beyond the obvious, do something even outside their realms into the community, because the rep and the doctor rapport is going to work only if there is a mutual appreciation to each other.
So maybe I'll just draw a slight parallel because when you talk about educating. So this is something that the mutual fund industry has kind of done really well, because the way they work is that they have people called financial advisors, and as an advisor I can sell 50 companies mutual funds. Just like how a doctor can write anything they want, and you're not bound by anything. And so what the industry has done as an industry body is they've said that all companies need to allocate a small portion, I think 0.1% or 0.2%, I don't remember the number, of their profits, of their AUM, of their total revenue for, they call it investor education. And what companies do is to say, which means that from that money you can't go and talk about your product. You have to talk about investing. So you just have to talk about evangelizing the concept of investing. And what people do, companies have started doing is to use this money because money is there. Your business grows.
That is not CME pharma company also.
So that part they've kind of done really well. Where today it's like across the market, but engagement is like
not with the intent of business. Not with the intent of business. Yeah. So what he's talking about is something
financial
different.
education, as he rightly said,
No,
educating.
I think that's also been tried. That's also been tried. When I don't know how large scale we done, many companies have done it. So we also tried it at the organization's work, where we tried what he's trying to do is how do you help the doctor increase his practice. and bring in more footfalls of the patients.
Without the
And or a doctors running a small nursing home, IVF clinics, or a doctors running a small nursing home, 120 beds or 50 beds. How do we really help them to do this?
no, so I'm not making a recommendation, but I'm just drawing a parallel that
How to
some other industries are
doctors
really
are not very good in business in money matters. Many doctors have said that we meet with the doctors, we interact with the doctors on a 3-day visit to the doctor, being together. So they need some help. So many companies have tried this, wherein some of the big institutes, big schools, the doctors have been sent for hospital management, nursing home management, and that really has worked. And I know many couple of doctors, the first dose the company has given in your own institute where you study, people from various people come to my house after attending the program, which is sponsored by some other company. And out of the 50% of the doctors, they really realized it's really helping me. And they've gone back and took a course by themselves and done it in a doctor Hyderabad. So that is somewhere it is working. So what you're saying is when selfless thoughts, when a company does to increase its practice, it really works.
I think institute where you studied, IIM Ahmedabad, was the first institute to start 3 days course for the doctors. And in which, let me tell you my experience. Doctors, those who attended this program, they are putting that certificate of IIM with proud in their cabin. And they would say that this institute taught me what not to do in my life. I was knowing what to do in my life. Second important thing, now that relationship, suppose if I have talked to this doctor will lifelong have fantastic relationship with that particular person. Because that's something invaluable thing he has been taught by that particular medium. So first step, you are rightly pointed out, the doctor's financial acumen is a lacking part. So, sometimes doctors say that my interpersonal relationship is not much. One beautiful example, PG student, last year PG students, we started one program, how to write a prescription. It is clinical research methodology program. And believe me, after spending 10 years of the practice, they still remember us by name. Yeah, you told me that time when I was not knowing, 2 days of PG orientation program helped me a lot, which I will never forget. So such type of things, if it touches the emotions of the doctor when it is required on that particular time, they would lifelong remember. And then nothing will come into the picture. When we go, they will have same risk, irrespective of the organization. So that you rightly point that such type of things should be there on a priority. And top 10 companies or top 20 companies, if they take initiative, others will follow.
In fact, maybe just what Sir said and you talked about and what Atin also said. Almost 10 years back, Dr. Reddy's was doing, we had a program called an Anmol Rishte. We used to do it for 20 doctors. Where we mapped even the religion of the doctors. And there were things which would go to the doctor customized. At Unicate, it was sports, it was, music. So, I think that kind of 360-degree mapping, if you go in, that really helps to, actually go pinpoint and, a doctor is a doctor, but at the same time, he's a human. And he's at how much touch points you have, that clearly makes a differentiation. So that also enables my rep to be more impactful in the clinic.
So that brings to the next question. I think we have started talking about it. What are the different tools or innovative tools which has helped you to engage MR more with the doctor? Are there any such platforms?
And can I just add one more layer to that? Because I think with a lot of tools, the last few years, I think it's been the hypothesis again was that they said was if only my folks had enough information on the ground, things will change. And now again, a lot of companies have come back saying, "Yeah, kya karega information ke saath? What am I going to, for example, we spoke about, who's the doctor, what they're prescribing, etc. So question is, one is what is the tool that needs to be there? And even when a tool is there to give you the information guidance, how equipped are MRs to make use of that and make things work? Because is it more a question of saying I'm taking the horse to water, or should I also make it drink? So just thought I'll add that layer of how, one is giving, one is using, so maybe I just thought that.
So over the course of time, if you see, lots of innovations are happening, and it keeps happening in the industry. So, when First time we had smartphones and we made videos. It was unique at that time, but today it is no more, right? So every company starts making. Similarly, when tabs were introduced, it was for the first time by one company and then it was used in the market. And then, it gets replicated. So, whatever you do, it is going to get replicated. But however, you will always have something unique which the medical representative can bring into the chain. From the organizational point of view, if I say, few things which we could do, I remember in Torrent we had done few initiatives which were very unique in terms of, just we were talking about, something from the perspective of technology, bringing the prescription. It was, we had two programs. One was we used to conduct conferences. So conferences only for the KOLs. And it was not targeted only for the prescribers, my major prescribers, but the top short doctors who may not be my prescribers, but they are the ones, who influence other doctors.
Thought leaders.
Thought leaders. Yeah. And when first time it was done, I remember, it created for 6 months, there was a huge engagement in the clinic. And, the doctors, even the medical, marketing, everything, all the, the departments were engaged in engaging the doctors. And it created a huge impact. And then it got replicated in all the zones. First it started with one zone and then it got replicated. So I think it was one of the times that I have not seen many companies doing, though there are few companies doing. So that is, if you do some program of that sort, which is of big stature and which brings key opinion leaders to the influence. The second one was, tapping the young scholars. So the PG students, we were, doing some quiz contest for them, and then we were bringing them to, to the research center to show them, how the organization looks, and then, when they go back with the feeling of it.
But these are still more like company-led marketing initiatives,
Yes.
right? So, but how does any of this translate to the MR?
Because he is the one who is going and talking about it every time. Not AVMs are going and talking about it. The marketing people are going and talking about it. They are engaging. So we are engaging through different means, for quite some time. And then post event also you have lots of inputs to go into the market.
So they are always at the center of those.
See, the MR will meet at least 10 times for that activity. The marketing person will meet once or twice. So the HO person will be meeting also once or twice. But the center stage is the MR.
vibe it creates, it is for a longer duration.
All technical work should be done by.
So at least a 6 touch points.
Even those tools also, from training and development perspective, I tell there are a lot of tools which we have started using. Of course, LMS were there, right? Now gamification is there. You create a video library. Even when I was in Abbott, we tried earlier those days IVR. Before entering in doctor chamber, just dial a particular number and you can hear the customized communication. Just refresh it and enter. Of course, we didn't went into it, but we evaluated, can it be done? So now, there are QR codes. What we do is give those QR codes, customized. It has to be pasted on prescriptions. Just patients scan that and product will be delivered to it. There is no step. Patient education things, he scan that and he get all the details, maybe related to exercise, rules and groups, diets and other things. So technologically also there are many things both the way, HCP sides as well as from training development.
Also, if there are many companies which are coming up with patient education for the patients, because there are many patients who ask for it, because they want their patients to be aware of what cancer is all about, or what even if it is IVF or some niche kind of therapy area. So they want their patients to be aware of, and they don't have so much of time. So they are looking forward for those companies who can give them such patient education tools or websites wherein those information can be given.
So recently we have created a website for one of our mental nutrition product. It is a commercial, this one. But the whole objective is not like selling off your products or anything or promoting it. It is more from the doctor or the dietitian perspective. So now that side is really catching up. Once you show something to a dietitian or a doctor, and if he finds certain value in that, of course, the first time it's a very tricky issue to show that, because unlike many sites, they will say, okay, but once you say that this is not a commercial site or anything, of course, the products are there, but not to purchase or anything. It creates a lot of value from the customers. Of course, you need a lot of effort from the MR side, from the company side, to actually educate in that sense. So, a very good tool, I would say. This can really, from the education perspective, I would say this is one of the good tools.
So anything which is done for the perspective of the patients, because
It will be-
patients are very important for the doctors. So something which is done for the patients will always attract doctors. One more, initiative which we had taken for the cancer patients. We had, tied up with one NGO, and they had psychologists. So they used to counsel the people, the cancer patients, because they go into depression post-cancer. They come to know about cancer, anxiety. So they used to, talk to them, make them feel better, and they will tell them, how therapy with the treatment will happen, and what all things can happen, and why they should not get bogged down by it. So something which adds value to the life of people definitely adds value to the doctors.
But is there so is there something that you've seen, for example?
No, all these things what I have quoted.
No. Okay, that was my next question. Sorry, I'm pausing. So I think we're almost at the end of what we have. So I just wanted maybe all of us to quickly give wrap up with our closing views, specifically with focus on two things. So one is in the last 2-3 years, because a lot of transformation has happened. So what is your view on what is the role of medical rep today, and what are the two things that you've seen really work? Where I say, hey, these are some initiatives that we've taken to help this MR build trust, and they say work. And what are the two myths you've seen saying, yeah, everybody said it worked, whenever we try kiya sala kaam nahi kiya. So I'm sure you must, because everybody's trying out different things, Some, like you said, some pilots, some something that they're rolling out big scale. So if you can just talk about your experiences, one, what do you think is the role, and what have you seen work and not work? Then maybe that will also help us understand different perspectives of why things work and work.
So Arun, just before
Yes,
that, I feel that we should introduce psychometric analysis while hiring medical representative also, because in psychometric we have a different tools to identify the personality of a person, because all personalities will not match for marketing representative part. So we need to identify who are the best fit for that, and then if you know their learning style, how they learn. So we do some instructional design, proper design for them, and then if we proceed, I think we can hire the cream. Of course, scarcity is there, so we are moving fast.
Incidentally, one of our clients, so they have a mandate today that by 15 March they should have their headcount increase by 100 numbers, and most of them are out there on the field. It's like Amritsar, Ahmedabad, Kolkata, 1 year. What everybody is in recruitment, because you have to do that, and I think, at least for them, the policy is like responses will be recruited as advance. So it's like I'm going to sit in a hotel and everybody comes in. So I don't know, because especially now, what we understand and what we heard about is that the supply is probably far lower than demand. So do we have the luxury of eliminating people? I'm just kind of maybe when we pass our closing remarks, we can touch upon this as well. So maybe here we'll start.
So to me, the role of MR has not changed much. The single role is to generate prescriptions. How do I help him to do that? That's important. So in terms of, yes, now we have the advantage of technology, mobile application based or some gamification. How I increase his willingness to learn, right, through help of various tools. That's what is very, very important.
Yes,
For me, I think I would insist actually, it's kind of how can it institutionalize in DNA. Constant interaction of KOL with my MRs. be it any specialty, be it any phase, their perspective, what is that they expect. And another thing, going a little bit far out, specifically in cardiology or maybe other super specialty clinics in the OT, where what is the time that the rep is spending in the OT. So really honing the skills of my rep in terms of knowledge, in terms of his interaction with the KOLs, I think that would go a long way in building a very confident and a strong rep. Both selling skill as well as personal selling.
So I'll give you a perspective from the doctor's side, because for this question I interacted with many doctors that what builds trust and what doesn't build trust. So what they say is that they should work on the basics. We don't want supernatural power with it. So what they want is that they should be committed. They should come regular. They should honor their time. They should come dressed properly. They should visit, and understand my time, respect my time. If I don't have time, and if I say only 2 minutes, so that means only 2 minutes. They should not stretch. So they said that just ask them to work on the basics. बाहर में smoke करके और फिर अंदर and that is very important. So etiquettes, grooming, basic hygiene, and understanding your product. If I ask you some questions, if you have committed something, do it on time. And if you have taken an appointment, come. So basic, I think basics is something which will get fast.
Yes.
I think I should focus more on guiding and training them properly. So that and communication skills.
So I would say basics will not change, but according to me, the digital transformation, we have done very less work in the digital transformation, many of the companies. So I think that has to seriously take a role. Of course, it will not replace MR in any way, but I would say more efficiency, more operational excellence, more commercially way forward. And as she just mentioned that, of course, these are the ways like webinar or the webinar or other like virtual things which can really play a good role in MRs. Overall, I would say from the perspective of his development also, this will be a crucial role, and company also will be able to take maximum mileage once they go into a digital transformation. Of course, a lot of work has been done by many companies by giving them tablets or iPads, but I think it should go beyond that in that phase. So I think this basics will not change, but of course we need to add a lot of things in this way for making the life simpler for MR and also gain that trust, which and one more striking thing which Jyoti said, it is really striking, the respect has gone really down for the MRs. What used to there before 20 years, today the respect has gone down. So I think that also requires a lot of elevation. Otherwise, after 10 or 20 years, no one will come to this industry 15 years down the line. And you will have only, so this is my
Thanks. So, Vijay, I think before you leave, I think Sir has to leave. So, Sir, if you can just share your parting words and
I think what we discussed today is what are the new ways by which we can influence the MRs to do better job. And probably we also learned that basics are required to get into this app. So the basics and training are not changed. So we can continue.
yes, sir. So, thank you a lot.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Sir.
Yeah. So what I felt and what I experienced that along with attitude, skill and knowledge, doctor would love to enjoy the company of that particular person as far as interpersonal relationship is concerned. If MR comes with lots of enthusiasm, with lots of liveliness, doctor would like to listen, take away, so back of the mind, any representative should understand that how to connect the doctor with emotion. He should be well equipped about the hobbies of the doctor. If he is more fond of different cars, so he can just go, sir, Do you know this? So he should understand the basic need of the doctor. Or second way, because now such a tough competition, he should create the need of the doctor. If doctor is having this, he can go, sir, इसके ऊपर भी ये है, ये मेरे पास है पेपर, और दिखाओ, अच्छा it is like that. If doctor doesn't know, if 3% knows, doctor will say, next thing is my उसके पास कुछ knowledge, products are there, basic things are there. Doctor are more interested. What is the additional thing I can just get from the doctor? So first I would say interpersonal relationship, enthusiasm, and doctors will enjoy the company with that particular people.
So, one of the unfortunate thing for all of us in India is that we're surviving in a branded generics market, right, where we cannot exactly offer any differentiation. So, what probably the rep from your company goes and offers and the rep from my company goes and offer, there is no difference other than the rep himself or herself, right? So, there is any practical differentiation. Many years back, this all started wherein the pharma industry moved from a science-based industry to a service-based industry. And the entire growth of pharma industry in India is attributed to the services which are extended. And there are many pros and cons when discussed in multiple forums and how the government regulations have become more stricter on those lines, introduction of generics and all for making it affordable for the people. A lot of things have put in place. So, while there exists no differentiation, so answering your first question, what is the role of a rep then? The role of a rep, what is expected by every pharma company is to only ensure this continuity in representing the organization by reinforcing the set of products what his organization has, beyond which there is no further expectation, because you do not have anything substantially different to go and part as a message. You might want to introduce a new brand that is new brand for your company. It isn't a new for the industry. It isn't a new for the doctor. So a new brand is actually not a new launch. A new launch could be commercially viable for the organization to invest on, but not really as a new thing where the rep can be expected to go and share any medical information which doesn't exist. And today, as an open source of science, in case if you are sharing in the reference paper for the set of drug which you are promoting, the other company equally has a right to download that and share it. And the first mover advantage doesn't really exist in spite of you being the first one going and offer, the doctor would have already heard it somewhere in some forums and all. So, the role today is only to ensure that you maintain your continuity in your representing your organization in the doctor's forum. Ensure that, with utmost sincerity and honesty, you represent a good ethical organization, and all the organizations think that way. That it's a character of an individual which matters a lot, because you're dealing with doctors and they're not fools anymore. That is number one. Number two, having said that, what can be done, and that's where probably organizations like Sharpsell or not necessarily at the employee front, but a lot is being done and explored today in the industry by digital partners, as I said, more in the customer front. So if you look at the technical interfaces, what has been developed in partnership, and most of the companies have started investing on, they're trying, rather than working on only the technology for my people, let me work on technology for the customers. Can we make it easier for the doctors to get appointments? Can we make it easier for the doctor to pass on information and creating meetings with their patients? Can we make it easier for the patients to have a login and then have that value time inside the doctor's cabin? So a lot has been explored very creatively in that front. That's the future. That's the future. At the referent, what can be talked about in terms of this developing more of social skills, which I probably once again reinforce. One of the things what people miss today, and what we call it in our parlance of talent management, and the word which has been used more often in the industry nowadays, is that learning agility, right? None of us probably have much of learning agility what we used to have many years back. The kind of investment that individual feels like, it's like a know-it-all, right? We all have that kind of an attitude, probably. It's not different with our reps as well. It's a know-it-all. WhatsApp has become a university. Anything that gets passed on to me is something which I've already explored. So there's nothing new. So the learning agility with experience has gone down tremendously. People have now started exploring.
a guy today came for an interview, and it's like, it's a very interesting case today, right? And forget about the reps, talk about the people in the head office itself. So we just happened to have an interview job posting for one of the role in my function, and then a chap probably working in the manufacturing unit came forward, has been there in the organization for 7 long years. And he came and I was interviewing, talking to him as a colleague in the morning, just exploring whether it's suitable for the job what I have in my function. Right? Some of the basic questions that I asked him was not around the job, what is expected out of him, was tell me who are the people, right, at the helm of affairs in the organization. Do you know who's a CFO? Do you know who are the people, who probably are having, heading some of the units? Do you know what is the turnover of the organization? The basic awareness of the organization, what it represents itself, doesn't exist. So then even if I want to go and represent my organization outside, whether to my customers or whether to somebody in my society, I don't have anything to talk about. I have only about my brands, I know that what is it used for, and I know what to go and do to adopt the scaling. So the social skills doesn't simply exist by developing and selling skills or going and promoting a product. Social skill is about you representing an organization, and the organization, is reflected through the way that you are there in front of the people around. So that's something which has grossly been missed, has need to be worked upon. Plus investment in technology, what many organizations doing based on the kind of affordability that they would do, but thankfully the partners do exist today to give us some solutions, but I think it's a few years down the line, something else also has to be talked about.
Yes, for me, the two things that really did not work was, compared to the years, is the structured communication which we used to do earlier. We used to train an MR, then this is what you have to speak inside the clinic. It's not working. It should be personalized communication. That means the MR should know what the doctor wanted in terms of the suite. Earlier, the other thing which was working earlier, today it's not working, is we were taught when you go to a doctor's clinic, don't ask for a market share of my products, but I need the entire share of what you write for us. Because you remember, you were trained in the companies. Today, that is turned, earlier the doctor was accepting that, okay, I'm writing for you, and this product company is good. Today, it is taken as very, very personalized hit on him. Today, he believes that, okay, what is it I'm benefiting from giving a time to a medical rep, for my clinic, for my hospital, or my setup. So, whatever that is benefiting him in terms of increasing his footfall of clients, increasing his consumer coming into the clinic, and the benefits of blood test done on a free of cost to a patient. All these are and these are the two things which worked earlier, structured and asking for myself. Today is not working. Personalized. And what is it in for me when a medical rep comes to me, apart from the product that he's going to say, I know he's coming for my products only. But is he going to do anything for me and my clinic and my patient? That is what happened. And to put in a nutshell, these two are not working and these two are working.
I mean, something which I'm reminded of right now. So we talked about trust a while back, and we said that trust needs to be developed. Now, trust cannot be developed probably overnight. It takes a lot for the individual to strike a rapport and probably prove himself with his own experiences. And that's why probably I would want a little differ from what Jyoti said, that no, not necessarily that if you're representing a big organization, you're able to gain the trust easily. It doesn't work that way. Probably you get an entry easily, but then 1 or 2 visits down the line, the doctor is probably smart enough to understand that the treatment doesn't work, and probably next time he's going to tell his manager, yeah, come se apni company mein nathi log liya karo. Right? So it doesn't work that way. I have seen, good reps, excellent reps from smaller companies doing exceedingly well just because they're from remote places, then get an explore opportunity. Nobody told them and gave them an opportunity. They have to go and strive to work in a smaller companies, but they do exceedingly well and they get poached over a period of time. So big brands can give an entry, but doesn't establish your credibility, because at their organization's credibility will always exist, but then in the absence of your own credibility, that's going for a toss. So the trust gets developed with your own character. So that honesty, that integrity, that sincerity with which you meet. And to end, one incident which is still close to my heart, and it was many years back. Again, could be around in 98, 99 when I was a rep. So there was a doctor who was a great prescriber. We were always told, right, that you compete with others, and that's what you said. You need 100% of the share, right? आप किसी को कुछ देना ही नहीं है, मिल बांट के नहीं खाना है, सब कुछ आपको लेना है. You need to push 100% for me. That's a mentality what earlier used to be.
That's what he told to us.
That was being told, right? And eventually that became something what the reps thought is something which is absolutely necessary. Now there was a doctor, I still recall a kind of a dopamine kind of a product which I don't think so which anything exists in the market now. And heavy prescriber. And probably the competitors probably lost it out to me. And I was a star performer in the country for the brand and acknowledged. And the set of doctors whom I could convince to prescribe it all. It went out of stock for some time, probably for 2 months. There was some challenge in the manufacturing unit or raw material API didn't exist, and the company sent us a message that this product is not available. Now, what to do? The kind of hard-earned prescriptions overnight, if the doctor changes the brand, it's too difficult for us to get it back, isn't it? It's easier to strike and ask him to prescribe, but then if he stops, then it's so difficult to get it back. I still remember, I went to all those doctors who were the top prescribers, almost 23, 24 of them, and to each one of them, I did make a mention, doctor, please don't prescribe my brand for 2 months. It's a very important product for your patients. We have been extending it, but then it's not available. Your patients are going to suffer. Here is a list of 2 or 3 other companies who have equal sized quality, which I know. Probably you can prescribe theirs. And it's not available. I don't want your patients to suffer. I know that you've been writing thankful, but then please not. Because tomorrow you're likely to say that the patients have not got it. I don't want you to put under that kind of a disappointment. So please, these are the 2-3 other good companies and they are available, and I personally checked it in the retail stores and they are available. And you might want to prescribe, it might come at 2 or 3 rupees less also. So please do so. And the moment my brand is back in stock, I'll come and personally tell you to continue it for me, and I'll be glad in case if you continue to me then, in case if you remember. Now this is something which has worked. Now nobody told us this. And this comes across something which is a kind of a skill which you adopt by your own upbringing, or probably something as your social skills, of your sincerity, honesty. It's close to my heart. And still today, I know, I give that example and it really strikes. And that worked. Probably once the brand was back in stock, I was back to my normal sales. It didn't change. Probably that's what helps. Now, these are certain things, what is examples can be quoted, and people need to be told about this apart from simple product knowledge.
If you have 1 minute, I know Jyoti is senior to me. She can defend that statement, but what I'm trying to say is what she meant, which I believe is, she was trying to say the approach of training to an MR differs from a established company than to a company which is moving right now. That's what he's saying, right? Because earlier we used to bring a training manager from Ranbaxy to train a company in a Kepler. It worked. Today it doesn't work. A Ranbaxy guy will come and train a Kepler. It might not work today because the hunger for Ranbaxy was different. The hunger for the Kepler is different. So in this you need to have a personalized training program. Earlier you had a kind of notes. These are the training skills that a trainer should have. Because I know her, she's been training for a long time. So before I could get into product management. So she was training in Ranbaxy MR, and when she comes to Canada, I think it's absolutely different. The way the doctor looks at it. And she uses the same module here, it's not going to work. And that is what, if am I right?
Oh, I totally agree, and I also, I think the point which Anil makes, definitely you can have FaceTime, which is much more stronger. But at the end of the day, I think bottom line is the guy itself. So nothing will dilute the guy who has to work, and what you did was transparency, consistency.
So credibility.
So I think it's so nice both of you said this. Thank you.
So thanks a lot everybody for sharing your thoughts on how you see frontline selling evolving, because unlike most other industries where you actually go and sell, this is like a very convoluted sales and too many things that fall through the gap. And, I think for us, when I started off, I said we have a few hypotheses that we want to validate. and there are new things that we wanted to understand. So from the summary of it, some of the hypotheses that we came in with was that we strongly believe that MRs are sellers. I mean, while we didn't use that word, but for us they are sellers, and some small, let's say, Anil, I'll probably put you in that 5 to 10% of people who are the 3 sigma, 4 sigma kind of folks, and they'll anyway come out the organization. So for us, 90% of people are sellers who are out there to sell and get numbers, and I think that's something that while nobody openly acknowledged, I'm understanding from the actions that a lot of us have taken. I think that still holds true today. And one of the other assumptions that hypothesis that we kind of worked on with is to say that training time is reduced, the amount of input, and I think that kind of still continues to be the case. So I think I'm taking that. The third thing that we kind of look at is to say, how can you kind of look at product knowledge, and how can you do that, and that is important. So one thing I'm taking back from that is, while that is important, the reality is that your product is not being spoken every time, but that's a backup that you need to have, because then the one time that somebody asks you, if you don't have the answers, then you're out forever. Maybe you've gone there 5 times. So I think these are some of the things that I'm taking back, and I think specifically in terms of what the MR is expected to do to the doctor for the patient. I think that's a space that's quite evolving from what I understand, especially I think with COVID and a lot of these tech companies coming. So that's a place where we're going to keep our eyes out on. And one of the other things that we've kind of really tried to do is to solve for this problem in terms of saying, hey, I'm not getting enough training time in the market, and that's always like it's a cost benefit analysis, saying, hey, do I kind of pay one more extra month salary, or do I do that? And one of the things that we look at is to say, while you have to keep upskilling going on day by day, that's a long-term project, you still can't let your conversation suffer in the market. So how do we balance it? So we've kind of spoke with a lot of our clients, and we said what worked for you, and people are like, hey, role plays work because we kind of sit there, trainer so these guys are when I can kind of tell the guy, आपको कुछ नहीं बताया, I don't want to listen to you like 20 times, then the 21st time they will automatically know that boss ये तो सुनना ही पड़ेगा मुझे. How can I take to the next thing and we still be confident about it, because out of 20 times the doctor says no, there'll be one time that they look up and say, huh, so are you able to capitalize on that opportunity? But today the problem is, everybody is there, multiple locations, cost of training, blah, blah, so you kind of come there. So one of the things that we have kind of done now is to, and especially with the advent of AI now that's coming in, is we said, can we kind of get these conversations going using AI? So can I kind of put my MRs in a place where I can simulate conversations that they have with doctors on a day-to-day basis, and can I kind of one, understand what's happening? Because the other thing that we saw was that what happens inside the cabin is usually like a black box. I mean, your systems capture this saying that, let's say Arun is going and meeting Dr. Abhijit, but what happens inside, nobody knows. Abhijit, I can come and say whatever I want, and the most common thing is that how many characters do I have to fill before I can hit submit? So that part is always like hearsay. He's like, sir, I went there and this is what I said, but doctor didn't listen. But they asked some question, मैंने तो जवाब दे दिया. Right? So this is, unless you do a joint field visit, that's like, you just have to trust what somebody says, and you never know. So one of the other things that we wanted to also figure out is, can you really know what this MR is going to say, and can you really understand what the doctor will hear if I were to put this at scale for different, in different scenarios. If I'm launching a new product, like you said, for the doctor, the product is not new. But question is, are you kind of knowing the fact that there is a competition? Are you knowing that if a doctor writes a prescription, what are you going to say to do that part? So that personalization, and today I think people talk about a segment of one, where you say there are no big customer segments, everybody is like a customer segment, everybody is a learner segment, etc. So that's something that we have tried to address using AI, and I think that's something that we kind of taken this thing on. So Abhijit, could you just quickly put that, put pictures on your screen? Sure. So one of the things we have done we call it pitch whiz. The question is, how are you going to go and pitch? How are you going to go in detail? And Yeah, maybe we can just quickly walk through what. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with pitch.
Yeah, start with pitches and just talk about what we do. Let's say, let's quickly show an example of this one.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you do to update your doctor? Maybe?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes,
The
sure.
doctor part, yeah.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, we have recently launched this called PitchWiz, right? So as and when I click on this PitchWiz, as an MR, I'm able to see multiple, let's say, challenges that are open to me, right? So what I can do is that I can now practice in front of the AI, and the AI will act like a doctor, and we can set different moods of the doctor, which I will just now show you, right? For example, let's say I click on this. So as a first step, I'm able to see a scenario which talks about what's the profile of the doctor, right? So it says, doctor is the head of department in a hospital. She always wants a rep to be brief and to the point, right? Doctor always gives weightage to the specific scientific concepts. You want to go and talk about the new guidelines that creates an opportunity of your product over the competition, right? So that's a scenario that the rep is able to see here. And let's say after that, there are certain pointers that we can keep it open to the MRs, that these are the broad pointers that needs to be covered while you practice with the AI, right? So what I can do, let's say Abhijit is an MR, he clicks on this continue conversations, and he can start practicing with the AI, which is like a persona of a doctor. I click on start recording. I can say, good evening, ma'am. This is Abhijit from Sharpsell Pharma. Can I get 1 minute of yours? I wanted to talk about the recent guidelines that has been published. I click on the stop recording. I click on submit button. So as soon as I click on the submit button, now the AI will analyze whatever, let's say, the opening statement I have given, and it will respond based on my previous action. Maybe I will play that.
Good evening, Abhijit. I'm tied up with patients at the moment. Please leave behind your product literature and I'll go through it later. Thank you.
Yeah. So it responded in a way which is based on first my responses, what I had recorded again, and second, according to the scenario that we had created. After that, I click on start again to respond to this. I say, I understand, ma'am. I will certainly, leave behind the literatures for you, for your reference. But I wanted to quickly talk about the two major guidelines in the CDC guidelines, and it is as recent as like last week. Shall I go ahead, ma'am? I'm sure I would be as quick as like in 30 seconds. I click on the submit button and then wait for the AI to respond back. So as soon as the AI analyzes this, it gives me the next responses, and then I click on this play button.
Alright, Abhijit, you have 30 seconds. Make it count, please.
Right. I say, sure ma'am, thanks. So the two new guidelines in the CDC were, the first one is the kind of efficacy that we are able to see with this new drug that is coming on. So as high as 97% efficacy is what we can see with the patients with upper tract respiratory infections, and also it has a much higher, success rate with respect to the competition that we see in the market, right? So would it be okay if I expect one or two prescriptions from you? I click on this submit, and after that it again responds, and then the conversation stops. Yeah. So it says,
Abhijit, you've surpassed the agreed upon time. Leave your research papers and I decide myself. I do not appreciate any pressure. Please respect my time as you said earlier. Thank you.
Sure. So this is the kind of, let's say, scenario that we had created. Okay, the doctor is like the head of the department. The good part is when we click on this go to conversation details, right? Immediately, within 1 minute, the AI would be able to tell you what went right, what went wrong, what are the pointers that I was able to cover, the assessment on the skills. But I will take a step back and I will just go back and create a new scenario for you, and then again take a challenge. So let me just share my screen again.
Command left. Control left, right.
Yeah.
So this tool will be with each of the MRs. They can practice it.
Yeah. So one, they can practice it, and like what Abhijit is showing, we can set it up to reflect our ground reality. Because like we said, I think the ground, let's say we talk about big company, small company, there's a generic this thing. Then the way you talk to somebody who's already, let's say, your champion and somebody who refuses to write your prescription, you as MR, you have to meet everybody. So the question is, how is the system able to adapt to all these different scenarios and do it? So how do you personalize the
Help me exactly how this will be operationally on the ground. Like say you have 300 reps.
Yes.
Okay. So you give this to 300 reps the app.
Yes.
And what we monitor from the say head office or from the marketing.
So before you give it to the reps, I think Abhijit, please zoom in a little.
Yeah.
So first thing is that you kind of create a series of role plays. It's very similar. Whatever you're doing in your classroom, you come and say, hey, let me kind of replicate this. Just come and this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these recordings will be there in the library?
Yeah, it will be there. So the idea is that, you can just click on the left side, top three things over here. Left top, collapse this one, yeah. So you first start off by saying what is the role play on and what is the description, because typically when you're in the room, you're going to do that. And second is you also set up what the conversation is going to be. So this is basically, if you scroll down, for example, here I say you're pitching shell can to an orthopedic specialist. This is part of your regular monthly visit. So I said there's nothing extraordinary about this. This is your monthly visit. You visit them already. So here I say you're a medical rep, you're an ortho specialist. You kind of say what should the AI pretend to be. What is the persona of the AI? And you also say what is the difficulty level or mood of the customer. Because in this case, I can say somebody is friendly, I can say somebody is different, somebody is aggressive. So these are all realities that we face. So you say now, how do you want your HCP to react? And what do you want your MR to practice on? What kind of scenario? And we can also say, as part of what I'm expecting them, I'll say, see, there are certain points that I want them to cover. I'll say, whether you get 30 seconds or 3 minutes, these are 4 points that I want you to cover and talk about. Otherwise, your visit is waste. At least, and again, this could be product specific, this could be about some conference, this could be as simple as saying, sir, cricket match Ahmedabad mein hua, wo kya? World Cup happened. So if you say, I want you to talk about World Cup, then are you able to kind of bring that into a conversation? Irrespective of how the other person is taking the conversation. So because your job is to make those statements there. And we also say, as part of something called skills to be evaluated, we say every company has their own competency framework. So our question is that we take your competency framework and say for each role play, you map your competency. For example, you say in this role play, I want to understand, let's say product knowledge. Then you say I'm choosing product. Or you say product knowledge nahi chahiye mujhe, I want to look at product customer fit, or I want to look at, let's say, your selling skills. So you can kind of choose what you want to evaluate people on. And again, you can kind of set, the next thing is like fairly straightforward. You kind of add the points that you want to cover. And you also say kab shuru hoga, kab khatam hoga and all this. But one of the things we have also done here is, and this is kind of little interesting, we'll kind of come to it when we do this. You can also figure out if you want to use this as a learning tool or you want to use it as an assessment tool. Because if it's a learning tool, I'll give all the feedback to the user. If it's an assessment tool, I'll say, okay, I've gotten your test. I can choose to say I'll only give you score, I'll give you explanation, I'll give you absolute mapping. The choice is yours. You can do that. And the most important part of it all, and again, this is absolutely optional, but we've seen a lot of our clients use it, is we will scroll down a bit, the last part.
So does it have the flexibility of entering the situation?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's absolutely, because whatever you see is entered, because for us, as Sharpsell, we realize that we are not like experts in scenarios that my customers are going to face. So we say that's something that each company can set up. And the last part is where we say, in case you have seen certain scenarios where you say, yeah, this product ka hamesha ye objection aata hai, and my guys are never able to face it. So you can actually kind of add this thing, and again, this is optional, where you say, you scroll down a little bit. You can also add this thing saying, enter additional context, so you can add that context. Where you can say that, the doctor specifically talks about a competition. Doctor specifically asks you questions on MOA. In case you want to drive the conversation in a certain direction, you can do this. Otherwise, you leave it blank, the AI will take care of the conversation. And, let's say that this is, so let's say we kind of get this. So this is what Abhijit is creating. Saying, and you can also say how long should the doctor speak, what kind of questions, how long are you going to give the MR? So typically we've seen 30 seconds to 1 minute is, the most realistic one. But in case you say, boss, I want you to practice a complete detailing, I'll give you like 3 minutes, you do it. You say, yeah, you can do this.
What kind of scenarios will the AI is capable to respond? Is it only science related queries?
No, it kind of covers 3 things. It kind of covers product.
Okay.
It kind of covers your behavioral or soft skills. In terms of how are you opening conversation, are you being able to be empathetic, and etc. The third one is it's going to kind of cover the way you're handling certain objections.
Product related.
No. Objections, it could be product related, it could be science related, it could be company related, it could be you related. So question is when somebody, so the idea is that, see, the product related still is to say, I'm telling you about my product. Communication is still saying I'm trying to do an entry, but the third part becomes important because the moment somebody, very stereotypical, I'm going to say this, but the moment somebody throws an objection, they are interested. So you're going to get that opportunity only like 10% of the time, but are you able to catch on to it? How are you going to do that is what the focus is on. So we can kind of define it in either of this. And the idea here also is that when you're doing all this, how can I, instead of saying, did you say this point or not, how can I understand the, let's say, bhana ko kaise samajh sakte hain? It's like, I can't say this verbatim. It almost never happens. But question is, am I able to weave this topic? Am I able to cover this? Is what the focus is going to be.
Probability.
Not the probability, but let's say if I say that I want to talk about, let's say for example, one of the points that Abhijit had put is that talk about, for example, can you go back, Abhijit?
Yeah. Is it all AI or something can be inbuilt as an answer as well to respond?
So that is the additional context. In case you want the AI to say something specific, then you add it as an additional.
Kind of a ready reckoner. I'm entering a doctor chambers. I found out through RCPA doctors writing something. I know the profile is kind of a director or as egoistic and something. And based on the content which is already there, it gives me a crisp message. You go and communicate this insight.
So I will come to that part in a minute because the ready reckoner part is I'm keeping that separate. So this one is more of saying, given all this, ready reckoner mein information aa jata hai. But question is, how confident am I that even if I tell them the pitch, if I train them, is that person able to deliver? Baat kya kar raha hai wo cabin ke, chamber ke andar. So that's what the focus is on. For example, in this case, it says improves calcium status in patients with chronic kidney disease. But the reality is, anybody in the industry is never going to say chronic kidney disease. They always say CKD. So there are going to be a lot of jargon shortcuts that you would use.
See, Arun, this is very interesting. Why did you limit this only to a conversation? Why not to a situation as well? See, because people get more confused with the situation more than the conversation. The conversation is fantastic.
In terms of, can you elaborate?
For example, I see that the doctor is not likely to give me time at all. Right, I see it just suddenly come from the OT, gone into it and just called me.
Yeah.
What do I do in such situations? Can it be also a situation for me to work on? Say, for example, I see 20 different reps standing there, right? And each one of us is not going to get bored. So I don't get time to have a conversation at all.
Yeah.
What's the best thing that you can suggest, or 2 or 3 ways that I can probably manage such a situation?
So she said 30 seconds only I have.
Yeah,
It said situational
necessarily we need not around having conversation. It could be a situation, how do I attend it?
So the only problem we have with leaving it absolutely open-ended is then who's going to determine, let's say, so we didn't want it to be like a...
For example, I'll tell you to, allow you to answer more on this. For example, last time I had committed to the doctor that probably I'll come back with a sponsorship. Fine enough. Okay, I told the doctor, fine, I'll go and talk to my boss and probably let me say, and outright it is rejected because the doctor is an absolute non-prescriber and the company's policies are unless and until there is a certain level of business, we are not going to do that.
Yes.
Now this is the situation. How do I go and tell this?
Oh, that's absolutely covered.
It's covered. See,
okay, I think you just missed that part. Maybe we can just scroll up for a minute and quickly recap.
I have only 30 seconds. She says, I have only 30 seconds.
So if you scroll up, Abhijit, so step 2. So what you're saying is, what is the context and scenario in which somebody is there? Yeah. That is part of step 2. Set up the conversation. You're setting up the exact context. We got it context, you're calling it scenario.
So it's not even necessarily to initiate a conversation. Like, what do I do?
Yeah, it is about saying.
Ready reckoner.
No. what could be the best 2 or 3 options for me to explore and even act or demonstrate inside the cabin in front of him, not necessarily to talk it out. How do I create a kind of a scenario to establish that rapport in the initial few?
So the answer is yes, and we call it the coach mode. Which means here you say you're not an ortho specialist. You say the thing is the persona is you're a coach, and somebody is going to tell you what they'll do. You give them feedback on whether something is absolutely wrong or absolutely right. So see, like I said, when you kind of look at it as a brainstorming tool, we want to be a little careful in promising this because we need some point of reference which is acceptable to the organization. Because I can't come in and say, Sharpsell way mein ye sab, Sharpsell can't come and say, you do this, you don't do this, because that's not our place to do that. So what we want is some boundaries within which, the tool is absolutely open-ended, but we want some boundaries within which we can operate. How do we define boundaries? There are 7-8 places in which you can define those boundaries.
So input should be put on the basis of the organization's own strategy.
Correct.
No, that's not. Jyotika point is coming back again in this.
Yeah.
Because it would be different from A to B, B to C organization. So
I
you
would
have to
say,
stay put.
probably, I have a disconnect there. I was not able to explain. How do you make an individual smart to manage a situation? And that's what I'm coming to. I'm not talking
So one, then this is not.
and that is not necessarily contextual. How do you teach, how do you make somebody a smart person in the room?
So our response is this. One is, this is not going to kind of suddenly transform somebody. So what we are doing is that as an organization, where we start off is that, hey, I expect you to know some basics and I expect you to be at this level. Question is, today, what I'm doing is I'm giving you a lot of learning. I'm asking you questions saying, do you know it? And that's just testing my knowledge and at best understanding. But the most important part of this job is not about what you know, but what comes out and what somebody else is receiving. So what we are looking at doing here is to say, assuming that you're ready to put in the effort, because some of the other things that we also don't think this can solve is, are you sincere? Are you going to put in the effort? Are you going to keep up? Those are things that, they're not even, we can't anticipate this, and Sharpsell can't do that. But what we are really looking at is to say, assuming that some of those basics are taken care, where you have an intent to go and do your job, how can, one, you kind of practice some of these, and how can you face this? Because if, let's say 2 times I do the same role play, the 3rd time I will have a better answer. And the good part about this is the AI is not going to be the same for everybody. Let's say there are 9 of us are doing this. If let's say I do a bad job, AI is going to shut the door and say, what are you still doing here? Why are you standing? But if let's say somebody else does a good job, the same AI is going to say, this sounds interesting, maybe you can just kind of leave this and we'll kind of spend some more time when you meet next time, for example. So
AI come to know that this is smarter thing to do and this is not smarter thing to do.
So one, that's part of our, so that's part of.
Because you have to create so many, situations.
Persona आपको बनाना पड़ेगा.
Persona.
See, you have say 15 doctors or 20 doctor sets, and say product wise, you will have to have a persona of each and everything.
Moreover,
See, we give actually a booklet to all the
can be
people.
handled in one doctor's cabin very easily, but with other doctor it becomes very difficult and it is not.
No, I agree. So that's exactly what we are solving, right? Because one, we are saying there is no prescribed way of doing it. It is like it's a black box. You walk in, the doctor who's been very friendly, but just like,
can you inbuild as such, you have your own AI which is a predictor. Why don't you think of building a Gemini or a ChatGPT inside? Maybe which might give you some kind of responses in a way that you will. For example, I'll again quote another incident. Right? There are so many experiences that we had. I suddenly realized that we were waiting for almost 2-3 hours to meet a doctor because the doctor was in OT. And suddenly he came rushing and saw that few people are standing, and he had to rush immediately for some exigency again. But because the people are waiting for 3-4 hours, he suddenly says, "Sabko bhej do yaar, fatafat mujhe jana hai." Now it's a frame of mind. How do you want to do that? You say, "Mere 30 seconds there, I go and bombard the project and product and say that, sir, 30 seconds hai, to main fatafat karke bol do." It's more transaction, right? The sensitivity was probably, sir, it seems that you seem to be so stressed. Forget about me waiting for you. Probably I can come again someday later. I don't want to take your time. So he told me, thank you so much for understanding. And certainly, I'll give you a call back. I'll personally give you a call back and ensure that I spend some time. That's what happened. and then he was kind enough to give a call back and give me sufficient time later. Now this is something which is sensitive. Now, if we're talking about narrating a situation like this, the doctor has just come back after having worked. What are the suggestions? Okay, suggestion 1, suggestion 2, suggestion 3, suggestion 4. What are the best you can and it's not something one guaranteed way that can work. But he can at least get some kind of clue. Yeah, ये 2-3 चीजें हैं वो कर सकते हैं. Now that also probably can be inbuilt as a. Now what you're talking about is a brilliant conversation which narrates about the product or handling situations or objection handling. Well said. This is one step beyond which can also be thought about, because probably that is where people lack.
So I'll come to that. So we are partially addressing that, not exactly the way you're asking. So Abhijit, can you just go to the feedback part of it?
Yeah.
So what we are doing is, while Abhijit pulls it out, is we are saying that this situation, like you said, you can handle it. For example, now what you're really looking at saying is, how many people are able to exhibit empathy out there? How many people are empathetic to situation? So what I would do if I were using this is, I will create a role play where I'll just say, boss, the only thing I'm doing is evaluating your empathy, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm evaluating this. Because if I say, boss, apna empathy dekh raha hu, everybody will be like, sir, aap to, you are so busy in this thing. But question is, given this, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, how many people are exhibiting that empathy? Or at least, maybe you still go talk about your product, but are you at least saying, sir, I understand you're busy, but maybe I'll just kind of quickly tell you 2 important things. Maybe later we can do that.
Yeah.
You've still exhibited empathy, but, maybe in your head it's your duty to kind of do it, etc. So there we do it. And the idea here is that as a feedback, once you do this, whatever the situation scenario you go through, you get 4 kinds of input. So we can go to the top.
Yeah. So just to add there, I mean, Anil, since you were actually talking about this point, so that's why this AI has rated me 2.5 out of 5. That it says Abhijit was able to recognize the doctor's annoyance but failed to aptly address it. So that's why I am 2.5 out of 5 in terms of empathy. Because even though the doctor said I only have 30 seconds and all this, I continued speaking and speaking and speaking. So yes, so if you want to evaluate on those kind of skills, we can also do that. Yeah.
So if you would have spoken to doctor, okay doctor, I respect your time.
Go
Yeah.
back
Can
and
I
do that
come
again.
next time?
Then
Yes.
I will understand.
Yes.
This example will come 5 out of 5.
Yes. So the empathy is 5 out of 5, but again, on other skills, yeah. So the power is immense. I mean, we can define what kind of situations it can be. We can define what kind of skills we want to have.
That's
Yeah.
exactly my point. You can't define a situation. Nothing is predictable. The best of the doctors and the worst of the days have gone bonkers and completely stopped prescribing, even being the top prescriber.
No, see, okay, I'm not. The question is then, what do we do? Because this is unpredictable. So what do we do in that case?
So that's right. So what you're talking about is a prescribed situation against which you are having a conversation. What I'm saying is, without a prescribed situation, can we have a conversation? The best part of this tool is it's a voice bot, right? And you need not type. So you need not spend time over it. You're getting 30 seconds, and that's what it is. If I want a solution to my problem, right, I simply pick up the phone and talk fine. I mean, the doctor has just come out of the OT and it seems he has less time. What do I do? It immediately gives me a response in a verbal saying. That's
just to make it some simple.
Yeah.
We were just talking about some outstanding collection to be done in UP, okay? And one of the division, 2 other divisions said, we're talking about all these that has come and all those things. And immediately sales manager said, he said, all things are very good, sir. Just can AI will go and ask, when will this outstanding will come from UP? AI bolega, chhod do yaar, main nahi kar paunga UP mein. So you are asking something which is, I think, don't make it so sarcastic. The guy is saying AI can help you in increasing a skill. But certain things, exact situation, exact analysis, it cannot give you at all. It cannot. ये वो बोलता है ये तो हाथ छोड़ेगा सर यूपी बिहार में कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे. Sorry, Rachna, you're from Bihar. ये को आप 2 साल का यूपी बिहार में कर नहीं पाएंगे. और चेन्नई में देगा तो बोल देगा ये चेन्नई में हो जाएगा. So that kind of preciseness in an AI or a chat, GPT will not give you. Because now this Sharpsell has come.
That's what I'm saying. You're not, since nothing can be predicted, nothing can be accurate as a response as well.
But in the absence of these, earlier, what we do is as a training, they can ask you in the absence of these, what happens is the situation which you told, which I've never trained. Exactly the
No, it's a brilliant tool.
it's a AA tool said 30 seconds I've got. And I also thought you did not exceed 30 seconds.
Yes.
But the AI told you that
No,
you
he
exceeded
exceeded.
30 seconds. I didn't
No,
know.
I was using the timer.
When an MR goes,
And he was talking.
he was talking, I didn't know. I didn't see that. So these are the absence of which tools which Jyoti and Rachna and you also did not have in your earlier career when you were training. There we had written 1, 2, 3, 4, and we used to train them on this. Now you have hundreds of things, empathy, and all. We used to be taught, but here empathy is told. You just put it 2.5, then it is wrong. And Rachna also when she trains, or Jyoti when she trains, mera bhi answer wrong hai. So she has to.
We will have to explain to them what empathy is.
So I consider this is going to be a great help for assessment. But if you're going to give to an MR, it will take some time because MR, if I go to an MR, we do a pre-call analysis and ask them, like, कौन सा doctor को लेके जा रहे हैं? So this. So आप A बोलो, doctor will say this. Doctor will say this, you say this. We have worked so much in the field. Today morning I was in the field. So they absolutely and exactly the doctor will say exactly what they want because he's been meeting the doctor 24 times in a 6 months period, and this is what and he is an AA for you. He has brought it in front of the doctor. You exactly say what the doctor wanted. So, but for an assessment, this is really will be great help for the trainers. That's what I feel. There's a lot of things. Can you make it the screen brighter?
Yeah.
More
Brighter.
exposure we will get and more
And
questions.
assessment will MR. If an MR comes after 6 months, when we do one program which we used to do is the low performance program.
PIP.
PIP. You know,
PIP.
performance enhancement program. That's 20%. We bring it all from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari to our office. And then 7 days program, counseling something. And instead of that counseling, you put this guy into an assessment. These are the questions you answer it. So you talk back, you know this guy was this. That is why your prescription was so, your saying was this. So this, I feel, I do not know about others. I feel this is a great assessment tool for PEPs and also training. But as he rightly said, full situational like UP research and sort of UP. वो तो collection नहीं लेके आएगा.
So I think the way some of our clients are using it is, let's say there are like you said, there are let's say 4 situations where this comes. One is your induction and onboarding, where I want to kind of help you understand, you know, my basic products, etc. Second is when I have a product launch. Third is when I want to kind of do this, something to do with when I want to kind of make you understand the science behind what is there specifically if you want to do this. And fourth is this PIP part where you say what to do.
And one more thing which can really help is during the interview process, right? You can ask these guys certain questions. In this situation, what are your answers are? And then you see what are the scores are. If it is below 3, don't recruit him.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, we say he's from this company, but you recruit him. We don't know the past and we do not know what full and final assessment, why did he give for that company? Because our army will get. So you put it inside. Yeah. But when you do this assessment, you know this guy's is so low. So the basic thing is
Very strong.
Psychometric.
So when I was like,
put the right person on the bus. This right.
But they're using it across.
Yeah.
Because every sales employees,
they have something called talk quiz.
they're using it and training also.
So I think one of the things that
Questions are given by the product managers or
it is typically done by the training teams because I mean it's like, see, the idea is that you're already out on the field and you know what people are going through. So if you scroll up a little bit, the points to be covered. Yeah. So here, for example, you'll see that what Abhijit spoke. You'll see that some points it says covered, some points it says partially covered, and some points, I mean, if it didn't cover it, it will say not covered. So what the idea also is that, let's say, especially in a new product launch, the idea is that every time there is a new product launch, then you kind of make people go through 5 OTPs. The first one is specifically going to be on your product. Second one is going to be on, let's say, MOA. Third one, fourth one, fifth one is going to be on 3 objections. One is objection versus a product that we already have. Objection versus some closest competitor in the product, in the market. Third is objection against, let's say, cost or whatever it is. So the idea is that some of our clients is that for every new launch, you have to kind of clear these 5 OTPs. Then I know that you're kind of good enough to talk about this product in the market.
Training point of view, it's going to really great help.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
I've seen trainers, assess, improve the assess. They have based on the understanding of the situation.
So you can put doctors into 4 categories. What we learn, authoritarian, affiliator. If you put that customized doctor, then So then they will say, oh, my doctor is so and so. So AI will judge that doctor personality is authoritarian. He may behave one on one. So if you give the personality behavior to the doctors,
वो था उसमें आपने देखा नहीं hard, soft, friendly, indifferent सब था उसमें देखो आपको difficulty level
various permutation
नीचे difficulty level में था
Abhijit, can you just
difficulty level में था
It's about differently difficult.
scroll up.
up it's a mood नहीं he's talking about
personality, doctor's personality.
ऊपर
Yeah.
Also the mood is, correct mood is also.
yes अरे ऊपर और ऊपर
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
देखो difficulty level में ऊपर the drop hard ultra indifferent more than your 4 you are 5
They're fine.
So again, we say that this is something that you can define because
you can define right
yeah. So all this is also something that you can define because I mean for let's say your business you may say yeah, we only need 4, but somebody else might say no, I have 10 and I've mapped it 10. If that hard work is already done, then the easiest one will be just adopt it here and here. So
difficulty level can be also kept hospital situation hospital
yeah. So the permutation combinations are like infinite. So the idea here is that how do we keep this flexible enough to adapt to every individual company out there, every individual situation out there because when we started out we said कि हाँ ऐसे होगा and we always got it wrong because there will always be 10 things that didn't work and we said you know what we'll kind of make it as configurable as possible and let's kind of do so.
In fact, it will help us. Because when we do
So this is what
we ask the MR, what did the doctor say last time? So you can record it and put it, what did AA say? Okay, AA said this, I can tailor-make my solution because I covered a preconceived notion as a boss because nowadays brand plans, which you must be knowing, it is obsolete every 3 months.
Yeah.
You take a budget and after 3 months people are saying, sir, your product did not work, the company so here you have a preconceived notion, I and Vijay go to a field, we have preconceived notion what we learned earlier. And we do that, but the situation has changed.
Sorry, Nilesh, you were asking.
So how does this work? So you install all in their the phones.
No, I mean it's you can make them install an app or you can just give them a link and they can log in with their mobile OTP.
Okay.
So the idea is to keep it as low touch as possible and today mobile OTP everybody knows. So I mean it's as simple, but some organizations say यार SSO integrate करके data security is that also will do. But the easiest one is that you just give them a link, get a OTP done, get them message and you kind of close it. So that's it.
So the data integrity is one of those crucial aspects. Where this kind of
No, because I think one good thing for us is we work with a lot of banks with their customer data.
Okay.
So the kind of scrutiny that comes with using customer data is like it's like mind-boggling. It's like so that has kind of seasoned us with all these best practices and figuring out how to take care of some of this. Because so there it's like you have like so there the penalties are like in case some data breach happens, you have to inform every IRDA in like 4 hours, and I mean it's a lot of more than reputation and all. It's a lot of effort that you have to kind of keep like 20,000 people informed and stuff. So we kind of said we did this.
You launched this couple of months back.
No, this specific part got launched 2 weeks ago. Because before this we had another version which is a one-way role play where I think this I don't know, Anand, maybe this would have fit your use case is we kind of put people through a situation and then we say boss you kind of tell me how you would react to it and then you kind of get an overall feedback on this. So this one for example is a video based one. Maybe obviously just yeah. So this one is like video based. So the idea is that you kind of record a video and do this. But what we saw was that people kind of preferred the audio one because it was still low touch. You could do it faster. You could do it faster. You could kind of do this while you're going there. So while
So probably yes.
So you can have a sample. You can say that.
Yeah. So for example, let's say again I can have the situation defined. Let's say what's the description about the situation that okay you need to talk about the MO, you need to talk about the side effects. So as a matter of first step, I can watch a sample which we think is the best way to handle this objection or do this recording. And after that, I click on the start recording and immediately I can record my response to those kind of let's say situations or challenges that has been thrown to me. Once, let's say I think that I have recorded my best response, I can click on the stop button and immediately I would be able to preview my video. Now, I know being an MR, it might not be my best shot at it, right? And I know that once I submit it, it might go to my training manager or the AI for the evaluation or both, right? It's based on whatever you choose. So I can click on this record again and I can record multiple drafts. So it's basically practicing multiple times before you give your final shot. And once, let's say I click on submit button, I get a 3-layered of feedback here. So the first feedback can be given, let's say by the AI, which is like instantaneous in nature for instant gratification, like your introduction to nose health highlights the key features effectively, but could benefit much more than a structured approach. Then I have a second layer of feedback, which is the reviewer feedback.
So I'll just add there. So this is something that a lot of our clients use, where you say, so this is one thing that trainers use, where I say I can map this to, let's say, both my trainer and my manager, and both of them can see what I did. And to now, the trainer feedback has become asynchronous. It's not necessary that I sit in the same room with you to give you feedback. Now you say, I'm doing my online session, first half, second half, I'm going to evaluate and give feedback. So while you have AI-based feedback, you also have like a trainer feedback, which, and the way we have designed it is trainer feedback is final. Trainer rating is final because, at the end of the day, if a trainer has kind of communicated certain thing and you want to get that behavior out, then it has to be measured against what the specific trainer or rating wants.
Reward or recognition platform for this?
So we can see we've integrated with
Some badges or something for the extraordinary.
Yeah. So we have
probably as an MIS it can be routed through the back end and probably the top best scores in the week can be rewarded.
So we are doing it in 2 ways. So first is immediate gratification. So we said top 5 videos that have been rated or top 3 videos, let's say in your zone, in your specialty, etc., will kind of come in immediately. It's real time. Let's say if I do something which is like better than the top 3, then mine will go, last one will slide out.
And this is accessible to all.
This is accessible. Yeah, who are we give access to? So I can say you can decide who you want to, and you can even define groups. Let's say if you say, I want to do this. Let's say do it like region wise. Let's say Gujarat, I want to do it separately. Karnataka, I want to do it separately because, or let's say Bangalore and rest of Karnataka, I want to do separately because conversations in those parts are very different.
Yeah.
Then you will also see top 5 within your specific area because you. So the idea is that you should also be able to relate to what somebody is saying.
Language?
So right now it's working in English and Hindi. We're kind of getting other languages out in the next like 4 weeks. But in pharma, I think we've seen English work the most and Hindi next. Because the moment it comes to, so again, this is how.
Tamil and Telugu also you should do.
Yeah. So next we are getting up with Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Marathi, and Bengali.
Baki it's okay. Hindi language.
It's conversational. Yeah, it's conversational. Not like the government document Hindi. No.
But let's say here it's more of assessment. I got certain score. Now what would be the ideal? That also gives me, this is how the ideal way of handling it.
So you can do, the answer is yes. You can either do it upfront where you say this is how I expect you to do it, or you can kind of get it as part of your feedback saying this is what it is, and the AI feedback will tell you this is how you should have handled it. You handled 2 things, you didn't handle 3 things. So that's also something that they do.
Yeah, that's an assessment, but the right way of handling that situation.
So that's part of the review. So we say that's part of the review. Once you have done it, I'm giving you a review on what happened.
Okay.
And I think what you are asking here in terms of this ready reckoner, so we kind of call it learning, we call it like, product insights, where the idea is that if you can just, so the question is now you say you have like you're meeting a KOL. So then what should you do if you get 30 seconds? What should you do if you get 3 minutes?
It's good.
Like extra.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so it's more like, it's more like a reckoner kind, before going in, can I quickly know what is there? Because it's once you go in, it's like moment of truth. You don't know what you're going to get.
I think a lot of similar work we did during COVID.
Yeah.
And then at least 60-70%, except the AI part.
Yeah.
We were there in almost 80% of the work in terms of dividing the zones and creating those badges and all those things.
We use the NI, not an AI.
AI only.
Yes.
NI, natural intelligence. We conclude?
Yeah. So I think, I just wanted to kind of bounce this off you folks because I think this is something that we, the conversation part is something that we've been like working on for quite some time. We've piloted it with a few of our customers, got feedback, and now it's finally launched. So I think this is again hypothesis if we created something, so thought we take feedback about what works scenario.
Good to have, I mean, as you said, right, from training perspective, it will be definitely a great help support in terms of assessment or maybe like giving this feedback to their line managers.
Yeah.
This is not how he scores.
Yeah.
Then further he can,
Yeah.
on the job, he can push them better than reassessment.
Yes.
So,
More refined way of
benefits,
role
more,
plays.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, we just call it role plays only because we think that's what is really happening out there.
So you are looking at the license base per person, you are looking at this model, or you are looking at the overall?
So
So
one
I
is
just
using
using
the
the question because pharma is like huge numbers. In numbers are of course say 500, 600 numbers. Kind of
So for this one we are looking. So usually it's license based, but specifically if we for this product, if let's say an organization says I only want to take this, then you have number of role plays. You can just buy so many role plays, roll it out, and you don't need to kind of commit to saying license agreement and stuff because this is like you have a use case, you deploy it, and you can take
No, I mean, number of role plays means how, like,
let's say you say like
let's say 100 situations. I can keep on changing those 100 situations.
you can keep on changing it. We say let's say situations are infinite. You can do how many are, but let's say if I buy 100 role plays, then I can have I can appreciate the discussion and thanks a lot for all your inputs. So I think we have. I think initially our I think the invite said like let's end it with like cocktail and dinner and then. Yes, Abhijit studied in Baroda, by the way. So he got up saying, guys, what is this? We don't need an Ahmedabad. So then
I can still do it in Ahmedabad.
yes. Yeah. Or you have like insomnia prescription, which a lot of my friends have. So it's
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone. Can we have a round of applause, please? Yeah. Can we also have a group photograph?